This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello and welcome on your live safari experience. We are on a search for a female leopard called Shadow, and this is Safari Live.
Ready. Standing by.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You are live, you are live.
Hello and welcome on what promises to be another magical sunset safari experience. My name is Jamie, and this afternoon I have Dazzling Dave on camera with me. Brent is out and about with Brian, and Steph is on bushwalk with Gendre, and of course we have the inimitable Mr. James Henry in the tent. And so we are searching for all kinds of wonderful things to show you on your Safari Live experience. Dave, where do I go from here? Just a little bit further. Okay, perfect. And Dave, of course, was here with Taylor this morning on the Sunrise Safari, where they had Shadow, the lovely female leopard, the daughter of the Queen of Juma, Karula. And she decided to pop out right on the boundary, or close to the boundary, between Arathusa and Simbombili and Juma. And I'm hoping that she decided to stay on either Arathusa or Juma, because that way we'll be able to have a chance to spend a little bit of time with her. I'm going to say this way. Our Shadow had a very full belly, and when I first got to her in the sighting this morning, and of course she was found by James' bushwalk team, so Rex and Viam this morning, she was found on foot, live on the bushwalk. Just duck through here and follow the vehicle tracks. Where could she be? Is she still here? It's been a cool afternoon this afternoon. Oh yes, what I was going to say was when I found her this morning, when I got to her this morning, she picked up a piece of meat. And she had a very full belly, and as far as we can tell, she didn't go back to a kill with Taylor, but she must have been finishing off the last remains with that full belly. Ooh. Against her still being here. A little steenbok just over that dead log. Or has the little steenbok not realized how close to danger he is running? Whoops, she is running. Now, a little steenbok of this size would most definitely be on a leopardess's menu. The female leopards tend to target a slightly smaller prey. I'm going to go and have a good search of the guari thicket in front of us, see whether or not she's still lying up somewhere here. In the meantime, let's go over to James, who is in the tent, close to quarantine, and find out what he has to say.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's wonderful to have you with us in the tent here. My name is James Henry. On camera today, Viam Dorenbrak. Hello, Viam. Oh. Viam is welcome in the tent, of course, as is Khanda Eggsy from yesterday, because we're all short and the tent is not built for the tall. There we are. Now, we have a number of interesting new things to show you. The first thing, of course, is that Ronald the rover is back up and running. So let's go and have a look at his feed. That's him over there. I'll click again. Let's see if, there we are. There is Ronald. Now watch him move, everybody. There's nothing coming down to drink at the moment, simply because it's a little bit, it's a little bit windy and blustery out there, so not very cold at all. And that is a look at Vuyatela Lodge. Ronald can go round. You can see some clouds there scudding over the sky. And from there, we'll just go a little bit forward now. We expect perhaps one or two impala and perhaps the odd zebra and maybe a warthog or two to come along during the course of the afternoon. Ronald is not going to do a great deal of movement if there are any animals, because they tend to be a little nervous of him when he does walk. Right, so we're going to leave him in exactly the position we have him there and see what comes. And then we're going to go to the Juma cam, and you can now see exactly where Ronald is. There he is. I'll just give him a little wiggle so you can see he's alive. There you are. Very nice. Thankfully he didn't drive into the water. Alex would have been very upset with me. And so that's the story with Ronald the Rover. Other highlights from the tent today. A piece of elephant tooth, which we looked at on Bushwalk today. We'll put that under the microscope and see what that looks like during the course of the afternoon. Then we have a very special new friend. And his name is Kevin. Kevin the kudu. Here he is. He's quite a magnificent fellow. He died, unfortunately, some time back, possibly eons ago. You can see most of the keratin is off of Kevin's horns. He has been thoroughly devoured by keratin-eating moths. Those strange sort of cocoon-like structures on his horns. And then we'll just quickly show you that the most of his face, of course, was probably eaten by the animals that caught him, and I suspect that they were lions. Lions or spotted hyena, the only animals able to catch something the size of a fully adult kudu. So this kudu was probably, look, they say you can count the age of a kudu by the turns in the horns. And what's interesting is that they say it's half a turn per year. So that's probably a year, that's 2 years, that's all the way around to, no, sorry, what am I saying? Yes, that's about right. So 2 years to there. So he was probably only about 4 or 5 years old when he was unfortunately devoured by the lions. Let's head across to Brent Leo Smith after his unspeakably wonderful drive yesterday evening. Let's find out what he's going to dish up for us today.
Welcome to the middle of the African bush on a live safari. My name, of course, as James just mentioned, is Brent Leo Smith, and I have my partner in crime, Brian Joubert. Oh, what is the thumb today, Brian?
It's a windy thumb.
It's a windy thumb, and windy it is out here in the bush. Sometimes Brian and I are known as the killer bees. You know why we're called the killer bees? Because we are quite lucky when we see the sightings. And we like to think we make our own luck, so hopefully we'll be making lots of luck today on the Sunset Safari. So Jamie's on her way to go check around where Shadow was last seen. Shadow is a female leopard who holds territory right on the western periphery of Juma Private Game Reserve, is where we're driving at the moment. So I'm just checking this road in case she came south, and I'm trying to see if her tracks cross into this area, or unfortunately, hopefully not, across our southern edge of traverse. If we have no luck, we are going to go east, and we're going to go east to a beautiful little corner of the Sabi Sands where we have traverse called Cheetah Plains. The last time the killer bees attempted to go to Cheetah Plains, the vehicle had to come back in low range at a very slow speed, so hopefully today will be more successful. Now, if you're wondering about where we are, what we're doing, what animals we might see, and what fantastic characters we have here on Safari Live, please ask us questions. You can do that by email, questions@wildearth.tv, or you can do it by using the hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. So it is a slightly overcast day, windy, so good for the cats, not so good for the prey species, the herbivores. So we'll keep checking. A few of the herbivores might be a bit jumpy in this cool, windy weather. But hopefully we can find a hungry cat or three on the prowl in this weather. Now, of course, James did mention we had the most unbelievable sunset safari last night. And for those of you who might be new, I'll give you a little bit of background. Our main pride of lions that we get here is called the Nkahuma Pride, named after this very tree. Not this very tree, but a tree on the same species as this tree. It's a brown ivory tree, and in Shangaan it is called an Nkahuma tree. So the first time the pride was ever seen was sleeping in the shade. Of course, not much shade under this one at the moment, but there will be a lovely green flush a little bit later in the year. Unfortunately, no lions under it at the moment. But, who knows, maybe tomorrow. But the Nkahuma Pride are currently filled with 8 bundles of joy, 8 little cubs. And about 3 nights ago or 4 nights ago, unfortunately 2 of those cubs got separated. And lion cubs have a very high mortality rate out here in the wild. About 70% of them do not make it through to adulthood. So very high mortality rate. So when cubs get lost from a pride, it's not so common that they get reunited. But we were there, and we were right there in the middle of the reunition. What word am I looking for, Brian? Well, for the wonderful coming together of the Nkahuma cubs with their siblings, cousins, aunts and mothers. It was absolutely beautiful, and I know a few of our regulars were moved to tears. So very, very nice to have a happy ending. Quite often when it comes to cubs out here, the endings are not so happy. I just want to have a look at something here. There's some male lion tracks. I just want to see if they go into Hoffman's or if they go into Arethusa. Now, if they go into Arethusa, we'll let Jamie know because she's much heading towards that direction. And I heard there was a dead buffalo around Red Dam, so maybe those lions have sniffed it out. Let's have a quick look where these tracks head towards. Let's have a look. Brian, do they cross over on that game path? Doesn't look like it. There is a track. Yeah, Brian spotted a track. Okay, well, while we try to figure out what's going on here, let's go see how Jamie's doing a little bit further to the west of us.
I'm also trying to figure out what is going on here, although a slightly different situation to the one that Brent finds himself in. Since Shadow is not where she was left this morning, which with cold weather like we've had today was kind of to be expected, decided to come back and see whereabouts, or come back to the spot where she picked up whatever she picked up this morning. And it looked this morning on our sunrise safari like an organ of a kill, but it was very, very hard to tell, and we were in a very difficult position because our tire was rapidly deflating at a speed that was a bit concerning, and I didn't really want to be in a leopard sighting trying to change a tire. So we called Taylor in and she took over from here, and we never figured out exactly what it was that happened with Shadow. And I've come through here, I can't see anything. I've been checking that perhaps maybe there was something in the tree that she'd dropped, a kill that she'd hoisted perhaps, or did she just scavenge something, or was something scavenged from her by the hyenas that we saw, perhaps. And we don't have an answer to that mystery because there's absolutely nothing here. I was really hoping, I have to be honest, that she had a kill hidden somewhere here, and that her disappearance then would only mean one thing really, and that's that she's gone to fetch Zara, her unofficial name. Zara being her 6-month-old cub, and it's not actually her name, it's the name that James gave them. Long story short, it's all part of the royal family connection. So, UK expat, I haven't heard anything about Shadow's cub. It's not looking, it's not looking positive, but at the same time, we've just had that incredible reunion with Brent and those little lion cubs. Admittedly, Shadow, where she was mating with Tingana, and she had been mating with him a little bit before that as well, which means quite an extended period of time that she spent away from a cub that is very, very small. At 6 months old, a leopard cub is not capable of taking care of itself. They are, however, used to being left alone for extended periods of time, and she would just know to stay in the same place, to go up a tree if there was any kind of a threat. She's old enough to escape from the most dangerous things out here. So I haven't given up just yet. So I'm hoping, well, I was hoping that there was a kill here, and that Shadow had gone to go and fetch her, because she did have a full belly, but there's no sign of anything. So while I negotiate my way out of here, let's go and find out what other amazing things James has to show you in the tent.
Hello everybody again. It is not the impala talking to you, it is I. And I'm here to show you something quite interesting called a lichen, which many of you have seen and I've shown you on Drive. I'm going to attempt to show it to you in hand first, mainly because, well, no. We're going to go straight to the microscope because it has, let me just find it in focus first. There is so much wind at the moment that everything keeps disappearing. Right, there we go. You can see that now. Now, that doesn't look like much, does it? A lichen, of course, is something very special that grows on rocks and trees and just about every surface on planet Earth, bar your own face. And if we just change the focus slightly as we go, what you can see is little bits of green. You can also see the wind blowing, very irksome indeed. And that bit of green there is a cyano or bacteria or an algae, one of each. And they live in amongst the filaments of a fungus. And that's what that is. And it's called a composite organism. And the organism itself doesn't show any of the characteristics, or very few of the characteristics of its composite parts. So I'm just going to try and get you a slightly better picture. There we are. That's much nicer. I can't actually lift the eyepiece of the microscope because unfortunately it will then disappear. So there you are. And it manages to survive, oh goodness gracious, I'll have to hold it very still. It manages to survive on various bits and pieces, either from the host plant or rock that it lives on, and largely probably from the air, I think you'll find. And I think what's so interesting about this is that it's a completely different kingdom of plants. So it's not a plant. It's not a plant, it's not a bacteria, it's not a fungus, it's not an animal. It's entirely in a different kingdom of its own. And it's probably not even definable as coming from a different kingdom, simply because it is this composite organism. And so in many respects, represents some kind of, I suppose, piece of evolutionary history that we would have, or organisms like us would have experienced way back many millions of years ago, and it's going through that phase now where you know that in your cells you've got these things called mitochondria, which used to be bacteria, and they're just part of the human makeup now, in much the same way that the lichen is now made up of fungus and cyanobacteria or algae. So that's the story of the lichens, not to be confused of course with werewolves. Let's go across to our very own werewolf, Mr. Brent Leo Smith.
Unfortunately, those male lions look like they're headed into a property we don't have traverse over, but for every cat that leaves, a cat's got to come back. And I feel Cheetah Plains, we haven't been down there for a while. I'm very excited to go explore the windswept plains today. Who knows, maybe we'll find some windswept cheetah cruising across the open plains. Always a good spot to check on a cool day like today, this southern edge of our traverse, and there's always a chance Queen Karula, the dominant female leopard, through most of Djuma, might have crossed from the other southern section of her territory. Here we go. So, hello. But while we keep looking in this wind-swept African scene, Jamie's got something who's almost above the wind.
Not the spots we were looking for, but something else equally welcome. A large male giraffe is standing at the very start of this open area, staring off across into the distance. Look at that, he's got a funny ear. Or am I imagining that? No, I don't think so. Definitely got a funny ear. Ah, look at him. Isn't he magnificent? Oh, standing ruminating. Apparently this particular gentleman was seen the other day at the Pan. He's very easily recognizable with those bald patches around his nose, and then that sort of cauliflower-type ear that he has happening there. It's droopy. He immediately stands out. Not, of course, that a giraffe that is 6 meters tall wouldn't stand out almost invariably. Now, perhaps with his extra height he knows where Shadow has gone. I tried asking him, but giraffe are notoriously quiet creatures. or perhaps I'll be able to get some of that information out of him in the future. What do you think, mister? Well, we're going to go search for our spotted cat. Well, whether or not we find her, stay tuned to find out after the break. Of course, we aren't actually doing any advert breaks, so in case you were wondering what that is all about, you're all watching us on the live stream where there are no breaks and there are no adverts, or at least no breaks for adverts. As you know, we are rehearsing for bigger and better things in the future, or at least bigger things, and that requires some polishing of our usual standards. There, for example, Kirsty's going to shout at me when I get back to camp because I ran over time. And as a result, if this were airing live to television, I would have been cut off. So that is why we need to practice, because clearly we are out of it. Sorry, Kirsty. And meanwhile, our beautiful male giraffe is just standing, ruminating completely peacefully. I love watching them ruminate. It's one of the most peaceful experiences you can enjoy. First, the mouth will get thoroughly chewed in this case. Okay, now really that's chewed. I'm sure that's chewed. Perhaps we should take notes. Oh, there we go. Down it goes. And up comes the next one. How cool is that? For those of you who missed what we were looking at, it's a bit subtle. Next time he swallows, have a look at his throat. As the bolus of grass, oh sorry, not grass, giraffe generally don't eat grass, they especially don't eat grass during a drought. Have a look at the bolus of leaves that he swallows, and then he brings up the next one, and you can actually see the reverse peristalsis of his neck muscles as it moves from his stomach up into his mouth. You'll see it with the next one. You see what I mean, though? It is a very peaceful process. Okay. Very peaceful process, very prolonged process. Here we go. Oh, no. Not there yet, not fully chewed. This is, of course, a wonderfully effective way of digesting things, making sure that the bolus is fully masticated. Yes, masticated. There we go, down it goes. Watch, watch, watch. Watch for the bulge. There it is. Ah, and into his mouth. I swear he just winked at us as he did that. Oh, you've got to look carefully. It's amazing how rapidly it moves up as well, especially when you think of the distance it has to travel from his stomach to his mouth. Puts him into the ruminant family. So along with the antelope, those of you with very sharp eyes might have seen the impala that are behind him. They've all but disappeared, I think, at this point. Oh, here's that wind again. Brian's thumb most appropriately dressed up. So yes, it puts him into the ruminant family, along with the antelope and the buffalo. And he's a beautiful old gentleman. How do I know it's a boy? Yes, you beautiful. His height and the bald patches on top of the horns on top of his head, which are of course not called horns, they are called ossicones. Well, and the next bolus comes up. I could quite happily sit here all day and watch him ruminate, but I'm not going to do that. I'm going to send you back over to James to find out what's happening in that tent.
Well, a number of things are happening in the tent here, and of course we're in pretend ad break, and so we're going to sort of waffle for a minute until we come out of pretend ad break, and then we'll go into the real meat and vegetables of what we want to do here. I'm going to give you a sneak preview, everybody, in the imaginary advert break, who there is our little newest friend in the tent. His name is Solomon the Solifuge, and I'm going to put him under the microscope shortly, and then we're going to release him. We're not going to keep him for too long. He does look like he's panting slightly. We've got 20 minutes back to TV, imaginary TV. Hold on one second, here we go. 7, 6, 5. Welcome back, everybody. It's great to be with you here on your live safari from the middle of the Kruger National Park, the western fringes thereof. My name is James, VM's on camera, and today we've had some amazing giraffe. Brent is out looking for lions, Jamie's out looking for leopards, and Steph, well, he's wandering about here trying to search for the smaller things of the bush. Right down here we have a special quiz for you. Now I'm going to ask Kirsten in the final control to go to the microscope feed. To the mic, there we go. Right, everybody, there we are. What do you think that is? Your quiz is, what is this stuff? Let me just change the focus slightly so that you can get a good look. It's got some sort of silky things on the back end there. That's a bit of a clue. It looks a little bit like a sort of nice chicken wings you might get at a burger joint, perhaps. A Portuguese burger joint. You might get chicken wings that are with this colour. These are not chicken wings, they're under the microscope, so bear in mind they're very small. Please let us know what you think they are. Live, like I said, hashtag Safari Live or questions at wildearth.tv, and the great reveal will take place in precisely, well, possibly when I next do a segment. So that is the competition for today. Now I'm going to move these out of under the microscope. Kirsten, I don't want to make everybody seasick. Right, there we are. Now, let me try and move them away. Don't look, everyone. Don't look. Shut your eyes. I'm watching you. I'm watching you. Now, we've got another nice thing to look at here. And that is a feather. I believe this to be the feather, everyone, of the fiery-necked nightjar. If not the fiery-necked nightjar, a nightjar of some description, but because we've just come out of the winter time, it's the only nightjar species that's been here during the course of the winter, so unless it's been here from last summer, that is what it is, a fiery-necked nightjar. Let's have a look at it under the microscope. Let me just adjust it, try and find a picture. Oh, look at that. There we are. Look at that, everybody. Now, what I want you to take a special note of is the fact that the left-hand side of each filament, I can't point this out because my fingers are too fat, but you can see the filaments. They're the sort of browny, coppery, thin, very obviously solid pieces there, the stripes. On the left-hand side of those, there's a slightly blue line, and on the right-hand side of those, there's a slightly sort of goldish line. Now, this is interesting, especially if we can manage to find a green pigeon's feather in exactly the same way as one side here is blue and the other side is sort of silver. On a green pigeon, which is not green at all, one side is blue and the other side is yellow, which of course gives the green pigeon its look. And that is how many of the birds achieve any kind of coloration. From this tiny little bird, let us go back to Brent Leo Smith, who has got something, well, without feathers.
So, even things without feathers are capable of moving into impossible places. There we go. Now, there is a little elephant. Now what I'm doing is I'm hoping they're going to move out of these thickets and closer to the road. We don't really want to disturb them. Elephants quite often don't like these strong winds. Now what are you so fascinated about there, little fella? Here we go. Come on, come out to play. Oh, hear an elephant trumpeting in the distance. Oh, there we go. Now, this area is home to about 16,000 elephants, the whole unfenced 8.5 million acres of the greater Kruger National Park. I'd estimate the Sabi Sands probably has around 1,000 elephants in the northern sections here. We probably fluctuate maybe even more than 1,000 this year with the drought. I'd say we probably fluctuate in the north up here between 500 and 700 elephants. Very difficult to ascertain, as a lot of the elephants will move in and out of the areas, especially along the Kruger boundary. Now that little one hasn't quite mastered the use of his trunk yet. So little Ellies, for the first months of their life, spend a lot of time probably quite frustrated trying to get the muscles of their trunk to do what they want it to do, that they can see the adults doing. So they also spend quite a bit of time playing in comparison to the adults. Now, because they're reliant on their mother's milk for food, they're not so focused on feeding. Oh, there we go. There's some more elephants appearing out of the river system in front of us. Looks like a young bull. No, young female. Now, as we sit quietly and listen, there's a lot of elephants in this area. Fortunately, they are in the thickets, which is not uncommon in this very windy weather. Let's just move a bit, see if we can find a spot where we can get a better view. Now, ex-Ranger would like to know, what animal do I think I would lose to in a staring competition? Well, of course, none of them. I'll stare them all down. I've never really thought about it, I'm afraid. What do you think, Brian? A buffalo, yes, there we go. You would lose a stare down with the buffalo. The buffalo bull, as he looks down his nose at you. Just hoping we'll get a gap to see some of those ellies, but they're really in these thickets at the moment. That's about the most clear view we have. Strong winds. But there we go, you can see an adult who's mastered the art of the trunk and now able to perform such an incredible array of movement with those trunks. Over 100,000 muscles in an elephant's trunk. Muscles and tendons, depending on what you consider. Oh, there we go. Some more about to appear. And there comes the littly. Sticking close to Mom. You can see quite a lot of elephants around, just through the bushes at the back. So Eddie's going to move off into the thickets now. I'm going to try see if here we go. Oh, look at you, managing to pick up a blade of grass, getting the hang of that old trunk thing. Using its foot. Practicing. So you'll often see the adults use their foot to dislodge grass or roots or trees. And there we go, the baby practicing the same behavior. Into the thickets they go. Let's move a little bit further down. Hopefully they're going to pop out into a nice open area. Elephant herd, this herd looks quite relaxed. They're definitely aware we're here. They're quite far away from us, but they're not showing any signs of being upset with our presence. And they're really going into those quarry thickets now. Let's see if any of them have come out the other side yet. Okay, well, we stand by here, and I'm hoping that these ellies are going to come through the thickets into these open areas to the west of us. Let's go see how Jamie's faring far west from here.
Trundling along the far western boundary of Djuma, I hear that you've been chatting about an animal that you would win a staring contest with, or that would win a staring contest against you. And I have to tell you that the creature that we were just with, that we've just left, would, for me, undoubtedly be the winner of all staring competitions. Nothing can stare at you like a giraffe can stare at you. It's actually part of their defense mechanism. They'll all stand and stare and intimidate a predator. Basically, it's their way of saying, we've seen you, we're watching you, and keeping an eye on you. Which is kind of why I said perhaps that giraffe knows where Shadow might have gone, because our spotted minx has pulled a disappearing act. They might know as well. Very much. Oh, there was a moment where she looked a little tense. A lovely pair of female impala. And I think they were actually one of the things that gave Shadow away this morning. With James, he was following or having a look and investigating why the impala of Impala Plains looked so upset. They do give off that very sharp barking alarm call when they spot predators. And is it by imagination, or are they starting to look a little bit pregnant? Just a little bit round around the belly. A healthiness that is not sort of fully carried out by or borne out by the condition of their hips and their shoulders. So they're looking thin, but at the same time, most of our impala ewes are going to be pregnant. I think they are starting to show signs of pregnancy. Onwards to Red Dam with us to see whether or not Shadow has gone for a drink with her full belly. While we do that, let's go back over to the tent and see what's happening there.
I do hope Shadow has gone to have a drink, although today, like I said, as Ronald is finding, nothing much seems to be very thirsty. Now, we have a number of answers for our quiz today. Linda, you thought we were looking at burned bark or steenbok dung. Your first guess was slightly closer than the second. I'm afraid, Kevin, you thought, or P. Hart, sorry, you thought it was a spider larder. I can see why you thought that as we look at the silk here, but it wasn't that. And then Taya, you said bug droppings. Lol. Well, they are, I'm not sure how lol they are, but they are certainly a kind of bug dropping, I suppose. It is what we call caterpillar frass, which basically means the dung of caterpillars, found very kindly by Taylor underneath a Combretum calinum plant. So that's what that is. And I'm just going to take it out now and show you exactly what it looks like for reals. And that's there what it looks like. And it's stuck together. Of course, a caterpillar is an organism that is able to produce lots of silk, of course. They produce a huge amount of silk. And that's how they make their little cocoons. And I suspect that these particular caterpillars are under the ground in cocoons waiting for better times or waiting for the rain, which with any luck will drop fairly shortly. So we'll put that back. Now, we're about to go into an advert break, so please do join us afterwards. And during the advert break, I'm going to be preparing Solomon the Solifuge, and hopefully you'll come back and see the unbelievable detail on him. So stay with us, go and make your coffee, and we'll see you shortly. Obviously, we're not really an advert break, everybody. We're just pretending. I see. Sorry, I was supposed to shut up there. Thank you, Kirsten, for that. Shall we do the solufuge now? Shall we wait for everybody on the imaginary advert break to join us? Right, let's go to Jamie with the giraffe and then the solufuge.
And we're just going to roll backwards a little bit because our giraffe has beaten us across the western boundary and has already made it to Arethusa and is currently munching happily away on a brand new green leaves. And before we reposition, just have a look at those beautiful green leaves at the top there, Dave. That is a happy sign. Look at that. Not only are they flowering, but fresh signs of spring. A little bit of greenery to sustain our poor animals during this incredibly long drought. Oh no. Oh dearie me, we're going to have to move. Sorry everybody. Hold on one moment. Some guests appear to be arriving. Oh, we'll be right back with our giraffe in one moment. Oh, oh. There we go. Definitely could have done that smoother. I think they might be lost. Hello! Cocoa bush. Cocoa bush. Hold on one moment, I'm just going to check. I think they're very lost. The stations, are there any lodges called Cocoa Bush around here or something similar? And we've got 2 lost guests. I've never heard of this lodge. Okay, copy. Thanks, Brent. Did you ask at the gate?
Yeah, but not sure still.
Okay, hold on. I'm coming to help you now. Sorry, we're broadcasting. No, it's fine. No problem. I'm just going to put Dave where we can look at the giraffe quickly. I'm coming to help you. I'm coming to look. Let me see in 1 second. Okay, I'm just going to help these poor lost guests out. They're looking terribly desperate. And while I do that, I'm going to send you over to James so that he can keep you thoroughly entertained while I do that.
That amuses me an enormous amount. Oh well, I'm sure they'll find their way home sometime. Maybe not, but at least they're in the world's most beautiful country. Now, let's go and quickly have a look at Ronald. Ronald? Oh, we can't go to Ronald. We can go to Ronald. There we are. There is Ronald. You can see that he is not, in fact, seeing anything. Nothing has come to see him, but we have moved him. And you might see the most interesting thing in the top of your picture there, of course. I'll just move him a little bit closer to the edge of the water. You can be very sure that there's a panicked Russian sitting in the final control right now in case I drive over the edge here. Ooh, watch out, Alex. What you can see on the sort of middle of your screen, there's the log. Just follow the line of the log to the left, and you'll see a round thing. That is the Nest Cam, everybody. And the Nest Cam, of course, has been providing us with great entertainment. Unfortunately, the elephants have removed the power supply, and it is no longer broadcasting as far as I know. Now, let's come back to me. We're going to have a look at this elephant tooth underneath the microscope. Elephant tooth, of course, is ivory. And let's just try and make this clear. There we go, you can see that now. It's not quite as astounding as I thought it was going to be. It just looks like a white screen there, doesn't it, Kirsten? It's not that's really not very amazing at all. Okay, well, scrap that. It looks better like that, actually. Right, good. Okay, well, that's that then. Now, I don't want to quick do the solufuge just yet, of course. We need to wait for the TV to come back. We have a minute left, so what I will show you in the interim is another feather, again, found by the very kind Taylor McCurdy, and it is a guinea fowl feather. These are in high demand around the world for various decorative purposes, and you can see why. We might have a quick look under the microscope. Let's have a look, see what it looks like. Oh, there we go. That's actually really lovely. See that? All the black there is melanin, The white is probably just an absence of melanin. Now we're going to go back into TV, everybody, imaginary TV, of course, but we're going back into it shortly. 20 seconds time, everybody. I hope you're all ready. Are you panicked and ready? Here we go. Okay, 10 seconds to go, roughly. Are you ready, everyone? Here we go. I hope the imaginary TV audience is back. Welcome back, everybody. It's good to have you with us. As promised, a live view of a solifuge. My name is James Hendry. VM is on camera. Out in the bush on foot, Stefan Winterboer. Don't know where he is right now. Jamie's looking for leopards. Brent is looking for lions. It's a wonderful live safari show here from the middle of the Sabi Sand, which of course is the western fringes of the iconic Kruger National Park. 8.5 million acres of untrammeled wildlife wilderness wonderland. That is many W's. Now, let's have a look at this quite astonishing creature that will make your blood cold. Look at him. Now, everybody, that is a solifuge. Now, a solifuge, in some parts of the world, known as a red Roman, a sun spider, but it is not a spider. And it is, believe it or not, and I actually almost don't want to tell you this because it looks so beastly terrifying, it's utterly harmless to human beings. Those things there, you can see it breathing, those things in the front there, the sort of sharp end, if you like, are fangs, they're teeth, and they're on the end of what we call chelicerae, so the sort of fat, sort of pulpy bits there. And those things that look like legs, those front things that are now in the center of your screen with all the hairs on them, are actually pedipalps, which is a part of the mouth parts. And what they do with those long hairs, which are known as trichobothria, in the same way that they are on spiders and scorpions, they're sensory hairs, and they help those pedipalps to grab bits and pieces of prey, which would be normally other kinds of insects and maybe even other solifuges. They're voracious predators, and they've also got little suction cups on them. You might just be able to see a few little sort of thickenings towards the end of those trichobothria, so they help to grab whatever it is that this solifuge wants to eat. Then have a look at his eyes. They're called median eyes. Sorry about the jerkiness. They're called median eyes. And I just think this is the most amazing thing, especially as you can see he's breathing. Now let's just move slightly back on him, and you can see his little trachea sucking in air. We're going to release him. Look at that. I don't think that's air. I think that's the hemolymph, that's his blood being pumped through his body by a little fairly uncomplicated system of valves. How cool is this? There's the abdomen, and you can see the back legs, very long and powerful. They're the ones that do most of the running, of course, and they get slightly shorter and shorter towards the front. And there, that short bit there is the front leg, and it's not really used as a leg so much as it is to help the pedipalp, which is the thing on the top there, to push things towards those deathly fangs. How cool was that? I think this is the most amazing thing. We're going to release Solly simply because we thought about freezing him or perhaps acetoning him to death and pinning him on a piece of polystyrene, and then none of us could bring ourselves to do it. So we're going to release him, and hopefully we'll find another one sometime. Let's head across to Jamie, who has not got a solifuge. She's got a mammal with a real heart, a big one.
A massive heart for pumping blood right
may now
up
release
against
Solomon.
gravity to the
How cool was
top
that?
That
of
was
a
amazing.
giraffe's head.
So that whole
And just look at this, we have got the most fabulous view. Before we go into our giraffe, I should just tell you that our lost guests were well on their way to finding where they needed to be. It was not a new lodge. When I got out and read the name of the lodge, it was in Coral. Those of you familiar with the area will know that that is where Shanae works. Now, there you go, in Coral Lodge. But luckily for us, our giraffe has shown a tremendous amount of patience, perhaps attracted by the irresistible lure of the green knobthorn leaves. Finally, proper signs of spring to help give our poor animals a break from their somewhat boring diet. Lynn in Florida, you want to know which has longer eyelashes. Would it be an elephant or a giraffe? An elephant, but only just. You can have a look at the beautiful lashed eyes of this male giraffe, but have a very quick look because he's moving off, and we're going to have to as well in a moment. Isn't that beautiful? So elephants definitely have long eyelashes. This particular giraffe actually does seem to have relatively short eyelashes. That's a very good point. Typically giraffes' eyelashes look a little bit longer. He seemed to be quite thick, but quite short. There's that floppy ear that lifts up every now and again. Oh, he is beautiful. Slowly wandering off to the west. Bye-bye, Mr. Floppy Ear. Okay, we do have to move now, because can you believe it, we're in the way once again. I just can't seem to pick the right spot at the moment. The reason I have to keep moving is because we are on the main road from the gate to all of the lodges, as indicated by our poor lost guests. Okie dokie, off you pop. Since our giraffe has disappeared, I'm going to move off this main road before I slowly drive myself insane. Let's find out what Brent is up to and where he is on Juma.
Guys, I'm just listening to an update on the radio. Okay. Okay. So here we go, Karula and both cubs have been found. They do have a kill, but unfortunately it is to the south of us. The animals that are around do that by using the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. So those elephants unfortunately moved further into the thickets. Brian and I waited patiently, but unfortunately we lost all sight of them completely. So we're going to keep heading now towards the east. And hopefully we can find some cats down that side of the world. We were looking for Karula in this area, and for those of you not sure, Karula is the dominant female leopard, but it seems that she's just out of our traverse area. But there we have a fluffy bottom. Oh, a mobile fluffy bottom. Oh, and baboons. So there's a waterbuck. And I'm going to try get you a view. Brian, you see that tree that looks like it's moving too much for wind? That green one there. There was a baboon in it. Yeah. No, so come out. To the right slightly. Keep coming. That one. That green one. I think it's jumped down. And there's a troop of baboons around here. I'm going to see if we can get a view of them. The Chakma baboon. Quite an impressive primate. Now, a Chakma baboon, a big male Chakma baboon, is sometimes known as a dog baboon. There he is. Oh, there's some Nyala, baboons and Nyala, all sorts there. Moving through the thickets. Okay, let's try and see if we can get a bit closer. Now, a lot of these animals are going to be a little bit nervous in this windy weather. Let's just get in there. See if we can catch the tail of the troop. Now, at the moment, the baboons, you often find them with impala and inyala and other animals. But when those other animals have young babies, baboons are a threat to them. Now, especially when the impalas give birth, big male baboons are really fond of baby impala flesh. Looks like they're going, like most things today, in this really windy weather. They're proving to be a bit skittish. There they go. There we go. That's a female. You see that very distinct swelling around her nether regions? That's to signify that she is an estrus. So they have visual signs as well as chemical signs, baboons. So when a female's bottom is swelled and red like that, it means she is ready for mating. Oh, there's still some more coming through in front of us, Brian. Oh, no, I don't think he noticed us. Oh, it's having a dig. What did it find? Oh, it's running now. Looks like a young female, that one. Oh, off they all go. I think that's the last of them. We do have quite a few other creatures around us. There we go. Female Inyala chewing the cud. Now, this is a little bit of a fun game. So we're not going to move. And from this one spot, we've got an Inyala, an Impala. We've seen the baboon. You can see the Impala just off to the left of the Inyala. And we've got a waterbuck over here. So we're going to go all species, not just mammals. We're going to see how many different species we can see without moving. So baboon, Inyala, Impala, waterbuck. So that's 4 so far. Okay. Oh, I'm not allowed to move. That's so frustrating. But it should come out into the open shortly. There we go. So, what have you got, Brian? You spotted something. No, just come out a bit. Oh, there we go. That's not one I saw. What bird was hopping across the ground there? Oh, here we go, a little white-browed scrub robin. Skulking away. Well spotted. So what's that now? 5. Now, there. No, there we go. The rear end of a Natal spurfowl, Natal Franklin. 6 species. I can hear some babblers in the river system. Guys, see, look carefully what else. If you just keep still and look, oh, aren't they just too pretty? Here we go, the Natal spurfowl, gracing us with a nice view. There's another in the background, also foraging about. Now, in this cold, windy weather, it pays to just stop and look a little bit carefully, because there are amazing things around if you take the time to find them. So one of our ground nesting bird species, they've got very developed claws on their feet that they use to dig in the soil. They will eat grass seeds, but will also feed off quite a few different insect species. Oh, there you go, it's giving a little fluff. We just taking our time to listen carefully. So not only are you going to find things with your eyes, you're going to find them with your ears, and even sometimes with your sense of smell. But the Franklins are giving us a nice little show at the moment. So I think that's a trick for today. If we find one animal, we're going to stop. Oh, the baboon's shouting behind us. Wow! Oh, Brian, come, behind us. He's climbed up onto a tree there. And he's not shouting an alarm call. You think he's shouting at the rest of the troop. Have you got him there? Mm-hmm. Oh, there. Look at him shaking that. That's a dominance display. Watch now. If he does it again, no, that's one of the big males. and he was jumping up and down and shaking the tree, trying to be very impressive. There we go. Whoa! I don't think he's alarm calling at a leopard or a lion. He's shouting at the members of the troop. He might do the shaking of the tree again. Now, that could be because some of the troop members are not listening, and he wants to go that way. Hi, Isabella. Oh, he's going to go shout at someone. He's going to go chase one. Let's just listen carefully. Sometimes there can be some great noises after. See, there we go, he's chasing. Looks like a youngster. Can't really see. And he's trying to herd them all. Isabella, I'll answer your question now. There we go, off he goes. Now, after this, sometimes you hear screaming and someone is getting scolded. Oh, well, off he went. Wow! Okay, so Isabella's wondering, what do baboons eat? Now, baboons are omnivores, Isabella. They eat everything. Oh. Look up in the tree, Brian. There we go. Middle of the screen. There we go. He's chasing one who's moved into a smaller tree. Now, to get away from the big males, often baboons will move into very small trees with small branches that'll break. Just making sure he's well known. Just going to just see what's going on here. Baboons are often fascinating creatures to watch because they are quite busy. So Isabella, sorry, they eat everything basically. They're like human beings. They'll eat meat, they'll eat veggies, they'll eat insects, they'll eat snakes, they'll eat lizards, they'll eat grass, they'll eat flowers, fruits. Very varied diet. And then you can see how windy it is today. Now I'm just going to sit here. I'm just going to see. We might move a little bit to try to get a bit closer, but with this wind, they might be quite unrelaxed. So while we've got a view of him up in the tree, it's quite nice to just sit and watch, listen to him shout. I wonder what he's saying, Brian. Come here! You! Yes, you! Naughty! Yeah, let's just watch him a few more seconds. If he doesn't move, we're going to try and get a bit closer to him. But look at that, just sitting in one spot for a little bit. We've had waterbuck, nyala, impala, baboon, white-browed scrub robin, and Natal francolin. So that's 6 species without moving. But let's see if we can see what he's shouting at and if he's going to discipline the rest of his troop. But while we reposition, let's go to a different primate, but just as loud, but this one's inside a tent.
That, of course, is the pot calling the kettle black. Now, we are moving in towards the tent here, Djuma Private Game Reserve, and you saw where we are, in the tent, on Djuma. Good. Now you know. Now, I have something interesting to show you. It is, of course, nearly 5 o'clock. Is it nearly 5 o'clock? No, probably not quite. It's 4 o'clock. But, of course, it's nearly tea time. And tea time could be any time between sort of 4 and 5 o'clock. And what one has with tea is cake. And on top of the cake, you put icing. Look at this delicious icing we've got here. Doesn't it look nice? When I tell you what this is, the sort of beautiful honey-coloured icing with chocolate chips in it, you won't think it's very delicious once I have shown you what this is. Okay, let's have a look at it. Kirsten, the great reveal. It is snake dung, everybody. Dung of a snake or a bird. It's very difficult to tell. It could be a bird, but it looks a bit large, so we think it's a snake. Any reptile or bird, remember, produces dung like this. Let me lift it up for you a bit, Viam. And the brown bits are fecal matter, and the white bits are the urine. And that urine turns that white color because of the uric acid crystals that are in it. And that's the delicious icing that we were looking at earlier. Isn't that cool? I mean, well, not to eat, obviously. You don't really want to have that for tea, but I think it's still quite cool to look at. And birds and reptiles I nearly said give birth, defecate all of that out together because they only have one opening. So the urethra and the anus all open out at the cloaca, and it comes out together, and that's why it's always mixed together, birds and reptiles. Now, the other thing we have here is a fairly unidentified piece of dung, and I'm going to ask you, I can tell you what I think it is. Viam and I think that this is porcupine, and it was discovered again by our head fossicker-in-chief, Taylor McCurdy, and she's sitting outside looking wondrously on at this piece of dung that she's managed to find. Now let's have a closer look under the microscope, and what we can find is that it is entirely born of plant material. There you are. And if you look carefully in the middle of the screen, there are sort of some chips there that look like they've been very sort of cleanly cut, if you like, cleanly taken off the plant that they were eaten from, and that would be indicative absolutely of a rodent. And we know that a porcupine, of course, is a rodent, Africa's largest rodent, and they all, there's the wind. All rodents, of course, have those enormous teeth that defines them, and they are able to cut clean through things like the bark and wood that is eating here. Now, we have a great privilege, of course. It's so lovely to work with the man, and he's now finally managed to get himself together. He's probably had his tea already. He's out on foot. Let's go and find out from Steph what he's going to find you.
Thank you very much, James. Yes, indeed, we got ourselves out, and there's some new cables, freshly tin-foiled and insulation wrapped, and we are finally with you. For those of you watching for the first time, or one of the few times, I'm Stefan Winterboer, and today on camera we have Jean-Dre. Here we go. And why I'm sitting next to this particular termite mound is because there's a family of dwarf mongoose that have just disappeared in here. They're very fresh dung lying here on the floor. Tells us that they were just here, and I can hear members of the clan calling to the rest of their family, basically. I don't think there's any of them in here at the moment. They were just sunbathing. But mongoose, basically mongoose feces on the side of a termite mound can help you if you're lost in the bush. Generally, in this part of the world, south of the Tropic of Capricorn, the sun is almost always in the northern part of the sky, and it makes an arc east to west, but north. And so that side of these termite mounds is always a bit warmer. And because it's a bit warmer, the mongoose like to sunbathe on it. And just so that I can show you exactly what I'm talking about, this direction here is north. And look at all their poop. And on the other side of the termite mound, directly around, let's just get my arrows right, is south. And as you see, blissfully clear of any feces of any of these mongoose. So they can help you in the bush if you are lost and you know where you came from, or at least where you're going to. You can find your way by looking at a collection of these different termite mounds and seeing north from south. All right. Oh, we've got some other type of bird of prey. Let's go and have a look at what it is. The vulture. Not a bird of prey at all, but a carrion feeder. Hang on, there's another one there as well. Also a vulture. Ah, and from the carrion feeders to a bit of carrion itself, off you go to Jamie with the stinky buffalo carcass.
Stinky is an understatement. Oh my goodness. Oh gosh, sensitive viewers, please don't look. It's a dead buffalo. and nothing's feeding on it just yet, so we're not going to linger. I think we can leave it there. Goodness gracious. My eyes are watering, and I can taste it. How are you feeling there, Dave? Awful. Great, let's go. Oh, it's such a windy day today. We're just to the south of Red Dam, and I think we'd be much better suited just going there instead. Oh, so there you go. Oh, that's where we are. No, that really is pungent. Holy moly. Right, so there's a dead buffalo there, in case you hadn't got that from our retching souls. We don't know what's killed it. It's one that was missing a tail, apparently, and it's going to be a fascinating sighting when something finds it. So there's a good chance it died of either old age, or probably old age exacerbated by the terrible conditions that our animals are under at the moment in terms of meeting their nutritional requirements. Whew, that's better. Breathe in the deep, fresh smell of the very clean Red Dam. It's better than the buffalo. Hello. At least you seem to be okay. So what we'll do is we'll come back to the dead buffalo at some point. Sorry, Dave. I think Dave just looked at me with you just looked at me with such disapproval in his eyes. I'm sorry, Dave. We've got to come back. We've got to come back at some point, because there's going to be hyenas and vultures and all kinds of wonderful things. I actually had thought that was what attracted the vultures to this area this morning. Anyway, on to different and happier subjects, and a very, very much alive buffalo. No, that's not a buffalo. Goodness gracious, Jamie, that's a hippopotamus. I think I should go back to guiding school. That is a hippopotamus, not a buffalo. I've got buffalo on the brain, and in the sinuses, and in the back of my throat. Our hippopotamus is still here at Red Dam, looking okay, and in fact looking very sleepy, casually nodding off. Fast asleep. So this is the second dead buffalo carcass we've had near Red Dam in a couple of weeks, and if the same thing happens that happened the last time, which was that the hyenas dragged it into the dam itself, then our hippo will probably move out of this dam and go and see if he can't find somewhere else to be. Oh, look at that, he's giving us such a nice view of his bristly nose. Okay, boy. So that's not a yawn. That's not a tired yawn. Okay. So when hippo do that, that is not... Shame, boy. Okay. So when hippo do that, I'm not leaving because I'm scared of him. I'm leaving because he's upset. He's under stress. When hippo yawn, it's because it's displacement behavior. They're trying to tell you that they're not happy. And he's just given me that sign, so why would I sit and stay and make him unhappy some more? It's not really fair. So it's not that he's tired. It's not like a human yawn or needing oxygen. It's that he wants us to go away, and it's to show their tusks. So it gave us an awesome view of their enormous mouths, but it's just not appropriate for us to stay if he doesn't want us there. And I really feel desperately sorry for the hippo at the moment. I don't like stressing them out at all. Our pretty nightmare, you've heard, of course, about the Kruger National Park shutting down a couple of their water holes along the western boundary and a few other places during the drought, and you wanted to know whether Djuma will be doing the same. Not as far as I know. No, I imagine not, for the future of the drought. So a lot of the reasons that has been done is because man-made water holes have in their own way created a lot of the problems that we're experiencing at the moment, which is the fact that it brings in animals that might not otherwise be here, like hippopotamus. And that's one of the reasons.
Crazy.
Here we go. Hello everybody. I don't know what we're looking at. Let's have a look. There we go. Sorry everyone, that's called tossing your mate under the bus. Oh no, now I've lost it. Hang on, the wind has blown. It's a guarri bush. Come back to me, Kirst, and I'll just try and get it back up live. Sorry about this, everybody. It's a guarri bush with a magnificent little array of flowers. But in the flowers, which are 2 millimeters across, there are these astounding insects living. Hang on one sec. I'll just find it on the screen. There we are. Check this out. Isn't that incredible? Those flowers, everyone, are maybe 2 millimeters across. They are minute. And there is one of the insects that's living in there, so it's probably a millimeter long, all right? There isn't an imperial measure for something that small. There's something even smaller there. Look at the feelers. In the middle of the flower, you can see the feelers sticking out of another insect that's feeding inside the flower. I think this is just amazing. And the reason I picked this was not because I thought it would be interesting to look at, because I tell you what, when I whip this thing out from under the microscope, which I'm not going to do just yet, you'll be astounded at how completely kind of unremarkable it is. But I just think this is incredible, and it smells beautiful. That's why I picked it. That's what my story was. There, that's now perfectly in focus. Look at that thing eating there. It's the same thing, I think, as the first long black insect we saw. You can see one now moving just over there. There we are. Look at that. Going into an unopened, no, I think that's a flower that's already turned into a young fruit, which will eventually produce a nice guarri fruit. I think this is just amazing. Let's go back to the open flower, if my coordination will allow for it. There we are. And nothing else in that one. Let's move across slightly. There we are. How cool is this? And look at the, just even if the bottom right hand side of your screen, you can see a flower, and underneath the flower the stalk, and on the stalk a whole lot of little things growing, quite possibly not parts of the plant. There's another insect coming there, bottom right hand side. Look, it's a green one this time. These things are microscopic, everybody. It's a whole little ecosystem living on this branch. I think that those hairs and things might even be micro lichens, you know, tiny little lichens living on the plant. Look at this. What a world of discovery we live in, you know. And when we walked out, before we did these rehearsals, of course, we know that we're going to be rehearsing, especially for a long TV session in January. That's what these rehearsals are about. And we thought this was going to be impossible because we didn't think there was anything out here. You've seen how dry it is. There's not much in the way of flowers. There are almost no insects and things. And we thought we're never going to be able to do this from the tent because there'll be nothing to show. Well, we were wrong. There are the flowers. Look how tiny they are. I'll just put them next to my baby finger. That's how tiny the flowers are. And inside those flowers are all those insects, that incredible array of life living on this one stalk of one guarri bush in 8.5 million acres of wilderness. Magnificent. Set across to Steph, who has got a leaf to show you.
I'm trying to camouflage myself from you because this is what it must feel like for a leopard hunting an impala in this particular type of bush at the moment. There is nothing to hide behind at the moment. It is just little bits and pieces of stick and branch and nothingness. But come and have a look here. I just want to have show you here. This is a tree that's been horned by a buffalo. So what a buffalo would have done is use this stick between their horns and their ears to try and wipe off ticks. So I have ears like a buffalo, and I'm going to demonstrate to you exactly how they would have done it. But they would have put their ear behind this and then scratched up and down. But because their horn comes this side here, they would have rubbed the bark off. And as they would have been scratching like this, they would have been rubbing the ticks and bits and pieces of caked mud and everything off but it does injure the tree a little bit. And I think my point is the fact that this tree has recovered quite nicely. This is the hardwood, this is the piece of the tree that gives it its structure and its resilience. But this bark is where all the nutrients flow. And just have a look how thickened it's become. This tree has now obviously put a lot of energy into trying repairing itself. And I just find that quite amazing. Now, for those of you who are watching us on the internet, we are going to go to an ad break. For those of you who are on TV, please don't go anywhere. We're going to come back straight after this break with some more exciting stuff for you. All right, now for those of you who are on the internet with us, come and have a look here. This is also something quite exciting. I quite enjoy these bushes, you know. I actually find out, I think they're personally one of the bigger trees that we have everywhere, but they never ever get bigger than this. This is a, now I've forgotten it, round leaf bloodwood, Pterocarpus rotundifolia. But just have a look at, this is the actual tree. I mean, that's quite a big tree. It's quite a sizable tree there. At least 2 hands across. But because elephants never allow it to get bigger than it is just made up of these sticks. And what elephants do is they come up to a stick like this, they grab it with their trunk, and then they kick. And as you can see with my foot, see what's happening to the dust and the sand? And as they move around this particular tree, coppicing it, that's what it's called, they build this dish-shaped, circular, basically, hole. But what's amazing is this tree sheds its leaves every single winter, and in this hole, all this fantastic compost, or humus, falls. Not humus, is it? Yes, it is humus. All this fantastic humus collects, and when it rains, this fills up with water. This then decomposes and feeds the roots of these particular trees, and they get massive. That's a very, very old tree, that. I'd love to know how deep these things' roots go. I don't think I'm going to be digging one out very soon, but in any case, that thing there I just find the most amazing, resilient. Just not fighting elephant, but just realizing the fact that you just need to basically go with the flow. And that's that I'm going to have to show you for now. And I think Brent has something that he's dearly wanting to tell you about.
Here we go. A pair of Wahlberg's eagles. They're not looking very chuffed with this weather as well. You can see how windy it is as they fluff about. I'm going to try to get on the other side of them where we can get a better look. Now, we're on Cheetah Plains, and I heard a rumor that the sticks were very close to our boundary, so I'm just having to see if there are any tracks coming across. Hopefully we can get a better view of those Wahlberg's eagles as well. Do have a nest there. Now, Wahlberg's eagle will use the same nest, or generally the same tree that the nest's in, year after year. Okay. There we go. I just need to be on the radio for a second. There we go. There, the Wahlbergs. Peter, how long do you think they crossed till they crossed the CP? Copy. Thank you very much. There we go. Oh, really looks uncomfortable in this weather. Some buffalo weaver nests around them. Welcome. We've made our way all the way down to a beautiful little property called Cheetah Plains, which is on our eastern side of our traverse. We've got a pair of Wahlberg's eagles. Now, these incredible eagles have traveled many thousands of kilometers to be here to nest. So they come for our summer months. There we go, look at that. And they use the same nest year after year. Now, if we come out a little bit and slightly up to the right, there we go. You can see the nest. So there's quite a few big balls that look like nests there, but that's the raptor's nest. So like most eagles, they make quite a scruffy nest. And then there's other nests up there belong to a much smaller bird called a red-billed buffalo weaver. Now, they will probably vacate those nests while the Wahlbergs are in residence, so they're not going to be too happy having two predatory birds living in their tree. So they will have multiple nests and probably move too. But the main reason we came down to Cheetah Plains is we're in search of a pride of lions. They're called the Styx Pride, and they were seen not too far from here. And there, those fluffy Wahlbergs, not enjoying this cold, windy weather. So they mostly eat insects, and of course little rodents, lizards, anything they might be able to get their talons on. We're going to leave the Wahlbergs to be buffeted by the wind, and we're going to continue on our adventure. Hopefully we're going to have some feline luck with those lions a little bit later. Remember, this is live, and you are able to ask us questions about what we're doing by using the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. So I'm going to be going very, very slowly, making sure we don't miss any lion or leopard tracks. Yona, can I explain what areas we can traverse? Well, the Sabi Sands is 60,000 hectares, about 120,000 acres more or less, and it is made up of individually owned properties. So we have traverse agreements with 3 of those properties. So we can traverse Djuma, Arathusa and Cheetah Plains. Now, Djuma and Arathusa do share a boundary, but unfortunately, Cheetah Plains, we have to drive down a long access road to get down here. But it is right on the border of the Kruger National Park, so you never know what might wander in during the day or night. Now, this area is home to a female leopard who Jamie saw for the first time not so long ago. And I think, as far as I know, Jamie is the only one of us to see it so far, and it is Tundi's unnamed cub. But there we go, I've just spotted my favorite antelope. It's a little female bushbuck. Now, they are absolutely gorgeous. You can see those wonderful little white spots on her. Now, her Latin name or scientific name is Traphalagus scriptus. Now, scriptus means to be drawn on, and you can see those little white spots. It looks like someone's taken a little pen and put spots on her. Now, strangely enough, the Zulu and Shangaan name is also the one who was drawn on. It is Mbabala, so the one who has been drawn on. There we go, beautiful little female bushbuck. Now, watch as they walk. They live in and around river systems and thickets, and they rely very heavily on being quite stealthy. So as she moves her feet, she will put her back, oh, she's got a baby. She'll put her back foot exactly where her front foot just stepped. Little baby bushbuck. Now, as those bushbucks disappear into the thickets and we continue to search for lions, let's go back to James, who sounds like he's got a 6-legged creature to show you.
I have what we call here the most recalcitrant beetle in the world, everybody. I cannot make it sit still. It's a really quite attractive fellow. He's tiny though, he's actually only viewable through the microscope. Let me just try and get a quick picture of him. Now, come now. Just behave, or we are going to be forced to acetone you. No, 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 there, no, there, quickly. There he is. You can see he's in a number of amazing colours. There we go. Sorry everybody, there he is. I will try and focus him for you. Oh dear, please insert card. I'm not sure what that means. That's an absolute disaster. Anyway, maybe you can do a better job of showing him to everybody. There he is, he's in our little... This was Solomon's home, everybody. Solomon, as you can see, has been released. Oh, he's found a stick to sit on. Hang on a second. We're having a disastrous time here. Let me try once more with a microscope, because he's now on a stick. There we go. He's gone. There we are. Quickly, quickly. There we are, everybody. He's copper and green and beautiful, and I don't know what else he is, but he doesn't want to be here, and so we are going to release him now. What an astounding thing that was. Good. Okay. Now, there was something else I wanted to show you quite desperately, but I've forgotten what... Oh, yes, here, I found it. It's down here in my wee collection of little jars, and it is a jewel beetle. Dead jewel beetle. This one is not going to, in fact, get away from us. So let's have a look at him under the microscope now. Taylor McCurdy at the moment is fossicking about, but it's not easy, as we said earlier. And oh, this thing is going to be very pretty, and it's not moving, which means it'll be easy to show you. Oh, wee! Emeralds and sapphires, diamonds and rubies. Isn't that stunning? This is amazing. Look at that. Kalinda, you say everything looks stunning under this microscope and you could spend hours looking at it. I could too, you know. The detail on these things is so amazing. Look at that. It just looks like it's been embedded with sapphires and emeralds. Oh, quickly, go and look at Brent. He's got a cat.
Okay, we've got a lioness. It looks like she's stalking something. I'm not sure what it is yet. I can see some movement ahead of me. It looks like some zebra. Copy, Pete. So one of the sticks lionesses. The rest of the pride is lying up to the west of our eastern boundary. We're right on the boundary. She's right behind the car. Just watching her. So apparently another lioness is looking up this side. She's going to come right next to us now. Oh, and you can... So it's one of the females that has cubs at the moment. Sticks for quite some time. Hello, madam. Oh, you can actually see that mange on her. She's lost quite a bit of fur. She's still looking quite healthy, though. Now, unfortunately, the zebra ran away. And I'm not sure how much longer we're going to see this lioness for, but it seems like the cat luck struck at the same time. So across to Jamie.
And just the tip of a tail disappearing behind the termite mound. And guess who showed up? Shadow. And guess where she showed up? You know where we were looking at the giraffe? Exactly there. Exactly. She was just casually sitting on the termite mound there. Okay, so we're going to have to do some interesting off-roading here. Where did she just vanish to? I think she's just stopped right at that termite mound. I don't want to block Aubrey's guests. Just bear with me 1 second. Okay, we're going to reposition and do some tricky maneuvering, and as Brent said, our lion luck or cat luck has struck at the same time. Let's go back to him and his lioness.
those zebras ran off, so she stopped. But it sounds like the other lions might be moving towards us. We're going to stick with her. Hopefully, the rest of the pride cross into our traverse area. And I haven't seen the sticks for quite some time. And this is definitely the worst I've seen the lionesses looking for a while. And with that mange. Now, this is ideal hunting weather for them. Of course, it'd be better if it was dark night, but windy, cool, and it's perfect weather for them to attempt to catch something, and hopefully they do that on cheetah plains. Even though she is lacking a bit of facial hair, she's still an absolutely gorgeous specimen. And she's quite a big lioness. And what we can hope is that the other lions coming from the west of us chase something towards her while she's sitting next to us. Oh, there's a yawn. Oh, tired. Maybe Brian's windy thumb is possessing some of the magic of the cub thumb from yesterday. Oh, bless you. Now she's looking back towards where the rest of the pride are. We don't have any visual of them yet. And I'm just hoping they start following her, and rather than her heading back towards them. There we go. She's going to lie down right next to us. Isn't that lovely? Nisa in Wisconsin is wondering, do I think the cubs will ever recover from their mange? Well, Nisa, it's impossible to tell for sure, but as long as they get to around a year old, there's a good chance that they might survive. Now, the Birmingham boys have had this on and off for a while, and it looks like they've managed to shake the worst of it. This is the worst I've seen it on the females, but then again, I haven't spent that much time with the sticks recently. And while we sit and see what happens with the sticks, let's go back to Jamie with a shadow on the move.
We've managed to stay with Shadow, that beautiful white tip of her tail giving her away. And there she goes on the move towards the Gowrie repeater. There, you see what I mean? That's the best way to try and follow a leopard. It's the part of her that stands out the most. Right, we're going to have to do some interesting off-roading here. I'm going through a monkey thorn thicket. Sorry, not monkey thorn, monkey orange. Oh, there's a log. I found a log. It's okay. It is no match for Rusty. Oh, but that log would be. Uh-oh. Oh, no. Oh, dear. Let's go around this way. This way we go. Okay, everybody duck. Oh, especially the VR rig. If only the VR rig could duck. Heads! You're getting the full safari experience. Just like Aubrey's guests earlier, desperately pushing the branches over their heads. Okay, well there she goes. Where is Shadow off to? Is there a possibility that she's going to go and find her little leopard cub? Well, we're going to stick with her and we'll see you soon, just after the break. Right, well, Imagine if Shadow had decided to do that whilst on live television. And what is Shadow going to decide to do? She's going to decide to defecate on live television. Well, luckily you guys don't have to miss out on any of these moments. She actually would have timed it perfectly for the ad break. But we like to share as much as possible with our internet audiences, and we do apologize for this view. I'm sure I could have done better. I am so sorry. Okay. She's going to go through an incredibly difficult area. She looks as though she might be on her way towards Hoffman's, but she's got a long way to go before she gets there. I'm still rooting for the possibility that that little cub is still alive and that we're going to have a chance to see it. I'm desperate for that to be the case. Okay, while we do some interesting off-roading to get to her and to stick with her, let's go back to Brent and his lovely lioness.
So she's laying down now. I still can't see any sign of the rest of the pride. Now they, being lions, might walk for 20 minutes or 5 minutes and then sleep for an hour. Oh, excuse me. She's still looking towards where the zebra disappeared from. Sorry, I just had to be on the radio. Oh, no. Oh, let's leave it. There's too much talking. Now you can see there, you can see how that mange is really affecting, but oh, it's so difficult to know whether she's going to make a full recovery or not. I think as an adult, they've got a much better chance at it than they do as cubs, but hopefully those little Styx cubs prove us all wrong. Just like the Nkuhumas did yesterday. No, it's dry. We're just coming out of the cold part of the year. But even out here, some animals disappear for part of the year, and Steph's managed to find one.
We have indeed. We've had our eye on this particular little guy for quite some time. We found him about 3 months ago at the beginning of winter. And there, coming into your frame nice and slowly, hidden behind those leaves, is an estivating hingeback tortoise. Have a look at that. He or she has climbed headfirst into this termite mound, into a hole in the side of this termite mound. I'm still not exactly sure whether the tortoise dug it or not. I'd like to believe that this particular tortoise dug this hole and then climbed inside of it, because this doesn't look like a typical feeding hole from a honey badger or from a porcupine or anything like that. It's even tortoise shaped, if you can have a look at this. But what has been interesting for me is that the entrance had obviously been blown closed with leaves, and I will put these leaves back as soon as we're finished. But on the inside here, something has been disturbing the termites. Those are soldier termites. They're dead, and I don't know why they're dead, but they are dead. It looks like something's been eating them and then hollowing them out. You can see there. And I'm wondering if a spider or something like that hasn't been living in this particular den with this tortoise. So something's disturbing this termite hole or this termite colony which is then forcing the soldier termites to come and defend themselves, and then they in turn are being killed by something in here. And I can't see anything in there, it's just the tortoise. Gendre seems to think that it was this tortoise's flatulence that has killed these termites. I don't quite know what to believe there. I'll leave it up to you to decide. But we're just going to leave the tortoise in here again, put her leaves back, or his leaves back, just in the entrance. And it's actually quite amazing at the insulating properties. That's about what it was looking like when we found it. And then we'll leave this tortoise alone, and it's going to be really nice to see when this particular tortoise comes out. We'll keep you posted anyway. Anyway, you're off to Jamie and her fantastic leopard.
Isn't this just the perfect image? A leopard nestled atop a termite mound, looking absolutely magnificent. She's gracefully draped herself across the top, and for now has settled and is no longer on the move. Hello, girl. There she is. Shadow, I feel, has one of the most distinctly recognizable faces. And she also really does look like Tundi's sister. It's a fascinating thing about the two of them. They're twins. From the same litter, their mother is not identical, but they look like they are related. It's amazing how you can see that sort of genetics in them. When I saw Shadow this morning, she had a bald patch, a sort of scarring area around the back of her neck from when she was mating with Tingana. Otherwise, she looks to be in relatively good condition. She's just listening, her ears turning back behind her to hear any of the sounds. And I wonder where she was. She must have been so close to where we were. The fact that she popped out right where that giraffe was is testament to that. Oh, her ears are looking a little bit scruffy as well. A couple of ticks there. Settled on them. But she does have the most beautifully coloured eyes. There's an intense stare. Talking about staring competitions. How's that for a look? She is absolutely beautiful. Even on a cloudy day like today. Now with her full belly, it's interesting that she's on the move as she is. She might have just been looking for a nice place to settle down for an afternoon nap, an afternoon rest. This is one of her favourite areas to disappear into, and once you find tracks coming into this particular spot, you just know how difficult she's going to be to find, which is why we've been so incredibly lucky over the past 2 drives. And even with her full belly, she's still intently listening to the sounds around her. And if the opportunity were to present itself, then I have no doubt that she would rush forward and see if she could catch something else for her next meal. The leopards are consummate opportunists. Right now we're probably 15 or so 15 or so meters away from Shadow. David, you want to know what is the closest distance that we would ever put our Jeep to the big predators. It's impossible to give you an exact distance because it differs from day to day and from animal to animal, and even the same animal can have different comfort levels on different days. If something has happened to them that particular day, it's all about reading that animal's body language. I certainly try not to go any closer than usually about 10 meters actually, if that. Usually stay beyond that, just to give that animal a little bit of space. But often what happens to us is that the animals, because they are so comfortable with the presence of vehicles, they choose to come to us. Often the lions come and lie in the shade of the car, or the leopards skirt right past us, almost to the point that they're brushing their cheeks against the side of the bull bar. And that's you'd never ever get that close to them if you chose to do that, if you pushed them like that. It's the fact that they made that choice that makes them feel comfortable with that sort of distance. I mean, today Shadow had James, Rexon and VM on foot, and they must have been about, I think James said he got within 10 meters of her without her even moving. Our animals have become beautifully accustomed to the presence of the vehicles and the presence of people as well. That's definitely no reason to A, abuse it, and B, get blasé about it. They're still wild animals, and they should be treated as such. And there's lots of interesting and dangerous things out here. It's not just the big predators. There's also some smaller things as well. Let's go and have a look at James and something with a serious sting in its tail.
It is a serious sting, but just a word for poor old Shadow. Wonderful to see her looking healthy, looking fat, the tragic figure that she is. We have got something not quite so tragic, well, mainly because it's still alive. Have a look at this. There we go. Well done, Kirsten. Brilliant transition there. Or Rebecca, it may have been. There, everybody, is a scorpion. And this rather magnificent specimen of scorpionhood is Opisthecanthus asper. It has no common name, and it is found underneath the bark of trees. This particular one was found at the base of a guarri bush. There you can see the fangs at the front in exactly the same way that, let me just try and focus in on the fangs, in exactly the same way that you could see the fangs on the solifuge. Remember that? Those are the same things. There they are, beautifully well shown there. And there's no venom in those fangs, of course, but they've got sort of toothed mouth parts, if you like. But it's the same kind of appendage that forms the fangs on a solifuge. And you can also see the hairs. Look at those hairs there, those white hairs. Now the little interspersed hairs are those very fine trichobothria. Looks like he hasn't shaved properly, or that he's balding. And those trichobothria are really good at feeling air currents, possibly even smelling the bits and pieces of prey that they want. There you can see his rather intimidating pincers. They look especially intimidating when they're under the microscope. And he is harmless to human beings. He might give you a little bit of a nip, but nothing that's going to create any sort of dire effects. And there, of course, the eyes, very similar to the solifuge's eyes. Let me just do that again carefully. There we are. Sorry, this thing does get a little struggle with its focus. Let's just go down the back there. You can see amazing armor plating and iridescent black and green and purple, a little bit like a starling. There we are. Now we'll take him out. Come back to me, Rebecca. Thank you, well done. Now here he is in all his glory. I am thinking about putting him on my hand because he is harmless, but it does make me a little nervous, I've got to tell you, and I don't want to empty him onto my hand sting first, but I don't think he's going to come out. Is he? No, he's not. I think we'll put him back, but this is the kind of scorpion, everyone, that you can put on your hand. He won't do you any harm at all. And in fact, Scott used to make them go to sleep. You see this? See how he's sitting now? If you can get them onto your hand, you see how his tail is sitting. If you put your hand over the top of them like that, they go fast asleep, I'm told. I might experiment while you're away, but while we're away, Steph has got some amazing things that don't normally come out during the day.
Well, these ones, yeah. Look at what we found here for you. We've got a colony of harvested termites that are allowing us here is the strength. Have a look at how they're all working together. This stump is many, many times larger than any of them, and yet they're moving it and they're trying to maneuver this, and I say stump because this to us would be like you walking outside your house, knocking over the telephone pole that's outside your house, carrying your telephone wires and the electricity, and then dragging it with your teeth into your bedroom. Basically, that's exactly what they're trying to do. With all the twists and turns up your staircases and around your nooks and crannies, telephone pole in your teeth, not the easiest thing. Just have a look at all of this. Now, why they're allowing us to watch is because the wind is blowing quite strongly into my face, and my carbon dioxide is not washing onto them. If that were the case, the soldiers would bash their heads. These are the soldiers, these little guys with the bigger mandibles. This is a soldier here. And these are workers without the bigger heads. And these, unlike the macrotermes, the macrotermes are the ones that build the big termite mounds. They're a little bit darker because they've got a little bit of melanin in their bodies, and that allows them to be a little bit more sun resistant or UV resistant. But have a look out carefully. Look here. These ones are just venturing out, and you can see that they are busy laying a pheromone trail, and it's just a little bit out and then back and a little bit out and then back. But these two have already found this piece of wood, and just have a look at the strength that these two were exhibit. And I mean, if James ever complains again that his legs are skinny and can't carry him around, then you must just make him feel like one of these termites over here that with their skinny legs move these big stumps. But anyway, from these harvested termites to Jamie with her leopard and a surprise.
A warthog has just come walking right past Shadow. It's now gone onto the other side of the termite mound. There it goes there. It's just popped out on the right. Honestly, at its closest, it must have been maybe 10 or so meters from the termite mound that she was sitting on, and it absolutely didn't see her. Off it goes, trotting into the distance. And she went completely still for one moment and froze on the top of the termite mound, but I think that she's decided that it's not worth the risk, especially with her full belly. And we've spoken often about the fact that warthogs are not an easy prey for our big cats of the Sabi sand. That's because they are very, very good at fighting back, and they have incredibly razor-sharp lower tusks. She's still on alert. See that expression? I love that focused expression that leopards get when they've spotted something. Can you see anything behind you, Dave? I can't either. But Shadow's senses are far more acute than ours. She spotted that warthog long before it made an approach. And if that little female warthog does have any youngsters, then there is a chance that she might decide to go for it. But I think there was just a shuffle there to get a little bit more comfortable. So, that was almost incredibly exciting, but I think that a large female warthog for a leopard that is like of Shadow's size, they probably would be about equal weight. And it's not really worth the risk of injury. Tingana, of course, is an experienced warthog hunter, but he's also probably double Shadow's weight. So he's got a great deal more strength on his side. I think she'd rather settle for a smaller antelope and impala. A good decision all around. Leopards have been known to be killed in failed warthog hunting attempts. So have a couple of people's pet dogs that have made the same mistake, living out here in the bush. And they're definitely not an animal to be trifled with. But she is giving us a stunning view of her beautiful live body spread out over that termite mound. And she shifted around a little bit, found a more comfortable patch. And just starting to doze off. I think that'll probably be her plan for the rest of the afternoon. I love it when they do this. Droopy eyelids. So while Shadow decides what her plan of action for the afternoon is going to be, let's Seems as though James has already made plans and some interesting decisions he has made. Let's go across and see.
Liam, have you seen the scorpion anywhere? It's not there in its jar anymore.
It is.
It's on me. Everybody, we knew it was there, obviously. What I did do is I put it onto my hand, and he didn't bite me at all. And then he decided that he'd crawl all the way up my arm, and he quite likes the warmth. Well, originally we thought he'd quite like the warmth of my armpit, but I think it's just this rather pleasant pure wool jersey that I have on, and he's quite enjoying himself there. We're shortly going to go and release him into the wilderness. You can see the fine knitwear that I'm wearing there. Beautiful, VM, well done on that. We should probably do some kind of advertisement. Now, let me see. If it does bite me, everybody, I will assure you that I'm going to squeal like a small baby. It is not harmful to human beings, the scorpion. And what we just want to do is see if we can't encourage him to climb onto my hand, but in a way that doesn't make him strike. Now, Cameron, age 6, I know that you and your brother and Scott used to love scorpions, and so I'm really, really happy that you're able to share this moment with us, because he's, you know, I don't know a lot about scorpions, and I wasn't as good as Scott at catching them and looking after them, and I'm really pleased to have made a first step in that direction now. So thank you for watching, young Cameron. And I hope that you keep doing that and keep sending us questions, please. We love to hear from you. Let me just try and catch him once more. He doesn't want to get onto my hand at all. Okay, we're going to put him back into the bush because that's where he belongs, Cameron. We'll put him back in the quarry bush in which he was. Let's head across to Brent Leo Smith, who has got a lion.
We're still with this single Styx lioness. She's still contact calling. I've heard from the guys across our bound that they've got one male and one lioness, and the cubs were seen a bit earlier, but they've gone into a little ravine. Let's just keep off that she calls them to us. With the strong wind, I can't hear if any others are answering her back, but her calling is becoming more incessant. That's when you're supposed to call, lioness. Hi, on the prowl. And on the prowl, I was wondering, do prides have lead lionesses? Not really. They're quite sort of all sort of the same hierarchy, unlike the males where dominance changes. There are females that tend to lead hunts more than others, but when it turns to get up and moving, it could be whoever's the hungriest, whoever spots what's happening first will often lead. Yeah, she's looking a little bit more alert. I'm hoping she doesn't move further to the west of us. Oh, big doofies. I can hear that wonderful contact call. It's getting louder. As I said, more frequent as well. because her hearing is much better than ours. But I'm not hearing any responses with this strong wind. So I'm just trying to keep quiet to see if I can hear any responses. And I've heard that there's a lioness moving off south away from here. One lioness is lying with a male, and then we've got the third sticks lioness lying next to us here. Now, they can't see the cubs, but apparently they can hear the cubs in a little ravine, probably about 150 meters from us. 200 maybe. So from one female cat to another with Jamie.
Moving all the way from Cheetah Plains right across to very close to the western edge of Djuma, we are just about at our Gowrie repeater, which is where we broadcast our signal from. And our lovely leopard is still settled atop her termite mound, not looking as though she's in a hurry to do it terribly much. I'm still just waiting and hoping so desperately that she's going to take us a little bit further into the bush and give a gentle call, and there will be her cubs. Sorry, her cub. So far it doesn't look as though that is her intention at all. As the air starts to close in, it almost feels like it might rain. Bet her weather predicting services or sensors are far more acute than ours. Brian's predicted early rainfall, I don't know, but the sky just seems to be getting heavier and heavier while we sit here. Much like Shadow's eyelids, as she slowly goes back to sleep. I can't help but hope as well that perhaps we might get a drop or two of rain. A beautifully perceptive question coming through from Rain. And Rain, it's lovely to have your question. Rain is 16 years old and would like to know how I feel when people call Shadow a bad mother. You think that it's mean because she's an animal and not a human. Rain, I couldn't agree with you more. I don't think, and I feel sorry for her. I don't feel like apportioning blame to her as though it's somehow her fault that she hasn't had much success. Yes, Karula is an amazing mother and she's been incredibly successful, but we have no idea what is happening with Shadow's biology and her instincts. I always find it very peculiar that people are so willing to blame her when she goes off and starts to mate with Tingana earlier than she should, like it's in any way her fault, her instinct, her biology. Everything about her tells her to do that. And she's never been particularly good at hoisting her kills, which is probably one of the reasons why she's lost cubs, because they're not safely up in a tree when there's a carcass around, which of course attracts hyenas. But why, we don't know. It could be that she's weaker than Karula. It could be that she's got an old injury that never healed properly. It is interesting that Tundi has been almost as unsuccessful as Shadow, not quite, as far as we know. I just think that we've been spoiled with Karula. I think she's the exception to the rule. She's an incredibly good mom. Can we say that, though? Can we call Karula a good mother without automatically saying that Shadow is a bad one? Because Karula's an animal as well. Yes, I think that we can. I'm going to say that we can. Karula's obviously got very, very good instincts when it comes to looking after her cubs. Shadow has some kind of biological disadvantage, I think. And it could also be entirely circumstantial. She might have had bad luck because there's more hyenas around where her territory is, or she's just had really bad luck with male leopards moving through an area. Young males that have come through and perhaps killed her cubs. Certainly, it's been a very traumatic year for Shadow. She's got a safarichey and her adult cub Tiani moving slowly but surely into her territory. And of course, with the release of Sindile, who still thinks she's mom and she wants nothing to do with, all in all, it's been something of a confusing year. I don't think it's fair to call her a bad mother. I never have. I think she's just been unlucky. Anyway, on to happier subjects. Let's go and figure out what Bushwalk is up to on their lovely stroll through the vegetation.
Talking about Sindile, we are on the tree that he had his kill in last week, and just have a look at what we found for you. That is a chunk of Sindile's fingernail or claw. Just have a look at that, embedded in that scratch mark. Isn't that the best thing you've ever seen? So there's a claw mark, and because the impala that he dragged up there was so heavy, it pulled a piece of his nail off. Now, the way nails stay sharp is that they flake, and that would have just been one of those flakes. It's still embedded in the scratch mark. Isn't that incredible here? There's the scratch mark there, and you can see where the toe turned around. Ooh, wonder if he's actually, there's some claw left in there. Shall we pull it out and see? Let's see. No, just a nail shard. But come have a look further down this tree here. And just exactly, this would have been one of his back feet. And he would have just had to pull on that while he was busy carrying that impala. And then coming back down here now, the most, or the longest of these scratch marks, or these claw marks on the tree, are just on this side. Isn't that just amazing? I'll just bring you in a bit closer so that you can. 3, 4. So it would have been like this. So he would have grabbed the impala in his teeth, he would have had it in his mouth, and he would have up the tree, jumping into the tree, probably to about here. And then he would have put his back leg up, and that would have happened. And that is where those have climbed to here, where he lost his fingernail. This is where he would have pulled hard on the tree and then jumped again. Let's see. Yes, we've got evidence here again. There. One last claw mark that we can see in the tree just there. And then the branch levels out. And he would have laid up there panting. But the first instinct a leopard has when he starts to feed is to pluck. And come and have a look here. Got your aerial a bit there, Jean-Andre. But here is the fur of the leopard, of the impala, that the leopard would have plucked out with the teeth. So Sindile would have stood on the tree up at the top there and plucked out the hair, and starting at the belly, the soft organs, and there you can see some of the belly fluff of the impala. Plucked out all the hair in this area here, the leg and the inside of the belly, to gain access to the belly to eat the soft organs first. The soft organs, liver, lungs, intestines, heart, spleen, all that sort of stuff, contains the most nutrients for the leopard and also the most water. And he would have eaten that first, lapped up any blood and fluids that he could have, and then moved on to probably the legs, because when I saw this the next day, there was just the four quarters and the head and the neck left, and then basically eaten from the back forward. And that's basically the sighting that we had. Then he spent a long time here, and of course, going through the motions, he's digested the scat that initially very, very black, and then would have gradually have turned whiter as he ate the bones. So as he ate the ribs and he sucked out the marrow and licked it out and ate all the smaller bones, his scat would have gone from tarry black to this whitish color. And this is so difficult at this point to tell whether this is a leopard or a hyena, because he basically ate that entire impala. He wasn't contested whatsoever. And so I would say that this is probably his scat, maybe, could be a hyena, but we never ever saw a hyena here. They were never in attendance underneath the carcass. They were elsewhere. So I would say that just because we didn't really see a hyena, that this is maybe his. But after he's eaten all of that meat, after the meat has passed through, let's see if we can find anything more. Right, well, we're over here, and probably we've got some elephant coming along here anyway.
Right, everybody, we just thought you'd give you a little bit of a view of the outside of the tent. Well, the view of the tent from the outside. Now, I've made it what I think is an astounding discovery here. Viam, are you astounded? Absolutely. Yes, he's nodding his head vigorously. This is Acacia exuvialis, the flaky thorn. Righty, that is not the discovery, of course. It is a common tree. Indeed, it is a bush encroacher in many places. But you will notice, and I've only just realized this right now, that the elephants do not eat the bark of this tree. They take out the knob thorns, they take out the red thorns, they take out the splendid thorns, they take out just about all the other acacias, and they chew off the bark. They haven't touched this, and I think I know why. Have a look here. These are some of the bark chips. Now, if you go to a knobthorn tree or a red thorn tree and you shave off the bark like that, it's wet and moist, and it carries the moisture and the nutrients from the roots up to the leaves and back down again, the xylem and the phloem, the vascular tissue. This is dry, absolutely bone dry, and it's come right off here. There's just a tiny little bit of moisture. If I cut off a little bit more there, you can see a little bit of moisture there. Now, I don't know exactly how this adaptation works, but I will tell you that I think what happens is that the xylem and phloem are a lot further down in this plant. They may even stretch sort of to a thicker layer, but what it means is that this is completely dry. It's dry wood. There's no nutrition here for the elephants. And I suspect that's why it's got flaky bark, and I suspect it's a direct result of wanting to avoid elephant damage. And I think that's quite an astounding thing. Don't you, Viam? Yes, right. Now, what I would like to do is have a quick look at the rover and see what's happening. The rover seems to be in outer space at the moment, which is quite amazing, but we'll see if we can get it back onto the ground. There it is. Well done, Alex. That was very clever of you indeed. Alex was... he was testing something else at the moment. Right. Here we go with the rover, everybody. There it is. Now it is moving again. We're going to move very carefully and just around and just see if there isn't something coming. Now, over the course of the next little while, we'll be using the rover quite extensively. There will be times when I make a mistake and I move the rover when there's an animal around, and I imagine that until they get used to it, the animals will have a fairly adverse reaction to it. But I think they're going to get used to it fairly soon, and I think if you stop moving it, then they'll come back and have their drink. So if you are a long-term watcher, and I hope that you're going to become one if you aren't now, don't be fearful when that does happen, and don't think that we're going to chase the animals away from this last little bit of water. I don't think we will. I think the more we drive it around here, in the same way that the more that the animals spend time around the Land Rovers habituates them, I think the more time they spend with our good friend Ronald, the better they're going to be with him. So that's the story with Ronald, and we're probably going to leave him there. Well, maybe a bird or two will come down and have a look. Who knows? Right. Taylor, have you found anything of any use?
No, but I
No.
found you a knife.
You've found a knife and a hose pipe. Well done. Okay, let's go to Brent. We'll find out what that hose pipe's about and get back to you shortly.
Can I borrow your knife?
Yes, of course you may.
I think it's on the table.
Welcome back to Cheetah Plains Private Game Reserve, where we are still sitting with a single Styx lioness. She is busy grooming herself at the moment, but she's still contact calling, looking for the rest of her pride. And hopefully they're going to come join her. We're right on the western edge of Cheetah Plains. And she keeps looking towards the west, and I think that's where the rest of her pride are. Now, Tucker, who's 4 years old, hey Tucker, would like to know, why do lions lie with their paws up like that? Well, sometimes they're flat, sometimes they lie slightly on the side, and I think in this case it's because of the soft sand, but it's because of their, what we would call a wrist joint. Now, because they use their claws to catch things, they come out in a side motion. So you'll quite often find a lion's front paws lying exactly like that. Now, if she was stretching out to grab a zebra or something, she would hit it sideways. So it's her wrist joint that enables her paws to lie like that. You're not going to see her back paws like that. So the back paws will be a far more rigid joint in the ankle, as if we had to describe it in human terms. So there we go, ankle joint, you can see flat down, whereas the wrist joint is able to face upwards. Now she must be very itchy with that mange. Of the types of manges that are most common out here, it's the less dangerous of the two. It seldom kills adults, but can be quite threatening for the cubs. Now Clarissa is wondering, why do some prides get mange and some don't? I think it's just a bit of bad luck. I think the Styx pride actually picked up their mange from the Birmingham boy who has now died. And it's spread from him to the females and then through to the cubs. Currently the Birmingham boys don't look like they've got it too badly. But as I said, from adult lions, they normally come back from it. But there you go, she's very itchy. So it's actually caused by a little arachnid, a mite. So, I can never remember, Demadrex, or a D something mange. I can't remember why, I can never remember that one, but I can remember the other one, sarcoptic. But this particular type of mange, or particular little parasite, little ectoparasite, focuses in on the hair follicles. So they will actually go inside where the hair follicle starts, and that's where they will feed in that. The worst kind of mange, which is sarcoptic mange, actually burrow into the skin. Hi, Sandy, who's in Canada, and Sandy is wondering about sand fleas. Now, do we have those here that bother the cat? We don't, fortunately. I know all about sand fleas from my time up in other parts of Africa, but in this area we don't have any sand fleas. So while this poor itchy lioness keeps grooming, we're hoping that the rest of the pride are on their way here. But while we wait patiently, let's go back to the other cat who's on drive with us today.
Having a lovely cat-a-day afternoon on this. Oh, hello. That was beautifully timed. She's been snoozing so gently. And just like that, her head popped up. Those piercing eyes, they look, with the sky this color, they look almost blue in this light. Absolutely lovely. I wonder what made her sit up like that. Is something coming behind us? I don't think so. I can't see anything. But again, as I said, her sense is much more acute than us. Oh! No. And back down again. Now, that's terribly inconvenient, Shadow. That's definitely not the easiest spot to see. Oh, just getting comfortable. She's found the perfect headrest to settle herself down, and as a consequence placed herself in a very tricky position. I can't really reposition at this point to get a better view. I'll wait for a moment and see whether or not she decides to move her head. And just while I know we've been talking about Shadow, and I know that we have a leopard in front of us, but I did a promise on the sunrise Jackson about his sighting this morning and get back to you on what he'd said. So I spoke to Fanwell, who is a taxis tracker, lovely gentleman who works for Juma, and he said that the male lions that he saw this morning in Buffelshoek, one of which was, he thinks, but we obviously don't know for certain, he thinks was Junior. He said he thinks it's the Nkuhuma male. He looks big and strong and healthy, but much younger than the Birmingham boys. It remains to be seen whether or not that was actually the correct identification, or if it was just a young male lion that came in from Manuleti. He did have another male lion with him, but apparently that particular male lion was incredibly skittish, which was why they couldn't really get a good position to clarify whether or not it was Junior or not. So there you go, just an update on that sighting this morning. They were up near Chikana Dam, which is on Buffelshoek, quite close, probably about 3 or so kilometers from where the Nkuhumas are now. They're also on Buffelshoek, but a little bit further to the east. So that's the update I promised, but I completely forgot about in our search for Shadow. Who is quite happy to be fast asleep. This is always something that we remark upon, the ease with which these cats manage to look comfortable on a termite mound. Those of us who have attempted to imitate that level of comfort have found ourselves seriously disappointed. It's incredibly uncomfortable lying on a termite mound. There are all kinds of horrible sort of knobbly bits that dig into your back. Definitely not nearly as comfortable as leopards make it look. I'm attempting to see whether or not there is a way around here, but I don't think so. We'd have to try and go all the way back around to the other side of the termite mound, and I'm not sure that it's worth it. I think we're going to play the patience game and just wait for Shadow to decide to get up and move. But whilst Shadow snoozes away, the Styx lioness has been far less lazy with her afternoon. Let's jump on board with Brent and find out where she's going.
Unfortunately, she is heading away from us, back to whence she came. I think heading back towards where the cubs and the rest of the pride might be. And you can see flicking her tail at the flies. But she was very kind to sit on the boundary with us for as long as she did. That lioness that was lying up on Greenthorn is now about southwest, back into her nets towards the Shkova. There she goes. We'll stay watching her as long as we can. Almost a little look over the shoulder at us there. So hey guys, bye guys. It's been grand. Places to go, cubs to feed. Oh no, itches to scratch. I think that little roll was an itch roll rather than a flop down and sleep roll. Flicking her tail as she disappears. And there... Oh, one last tail flick. There she's back. Okay, I think that's it for us in the sticks, unfortunately. I was really hoping she was going to call the rest of the pride this way. It seems like the rest of the pride called her back to the west. Maybe they'll be back here on tomorrow's sunrise safari, fingers crossed. But while we go see what else we can find, let's go to James, who's probably nice and warm in his tent.
Yesterday he described me as being in a sauna. Today he says he hopes I'm nice and warm in here. As you can see, there's not a great deal of walling in this particular tent. So no, we're not very warm, but we're having a lovely time. Look what our resident bloodhound Taylor McCurdy has managed to find us. No, yes, that's exactly what we want. See? It's some amber, and amber, of course, is tree sap, and this particular tree sap is growing, well, not growing, it's sort of exuding from a black monkey thorn. Now, if you happen to be a bush baby, which is our tiniest little primate here, many of you have seen them, and one of them lives actually just outside their final control. So if you ever come and visit us, you can ask to see Billy the bush baby. You'll be lucky to see him. And this is what they eat during the winter months, because there are no insects for them to eat, and so they go after this quite astounding, sort of beautifully coloured stuff. Now we'll pop it under the microscope. I'm not sure that we're going to get a better view than the one Viam's just given you. But what is interesting, of course, for those of you who have watched the great classic Jurassic Park, is that this is where the, in theory, I'll just lighten it up a bit. This, in theory, is where they found the mosquito that carried all the DNA for all of those amazing dinosaurs. I haven't found a mosquito in here. Can you see a mosquito in there, Viam? Maybe it's carrying the DNA of a dinosaur, or perhaps a long extinct saber-toothed cat, or perhaps even you, Viam. We could maybe clone you from the mosquito blood that we extract out of the amber here. I'm now being completely ridiculous, of course. But just before we change the view, just look again at now how we look at, well, we're looking at the branch, of course, now. I'm just going to dim the picture slightly. Look at the detail that we just don't see unless we put these things under microscopes. Those are called lenticels, those white things, and they're basically, well, I think they're sort of a representation of the lymphatic system almost. They've got sort of hormones in them, tree hormones, and I suspect it's from these, perhaps, that the acacia trees are able to produce the pheromones that contact each other, especially when they're being attacked by things like elephants. Right, now let's go over to the dam cam. Watch this. There's a nyala coming. Now, where is he in relation to Ronald is what I want to know. I'm going to turn Ronald very slowly. Keep your eye on the nyala. Oh, you see him look there. I'm not sure what he looked at. Oh, I can see exactly where he is now. He's way behind. He's basically... Okay, let me just drive the rover up there. He's not anywhere near the dam. I think the dam cam is facing quite a long way away from him. I'm just trying to find him with the rover to see if we can't get a view from the ground. But he's moving too fast. Ronald is not very fast, everybody. No, I can't find him, I'm afraid. Anyway, there he is, and he's in very good nick. I think that the nyalas and the impalas especially are doing pretty well in this drought, but I think a number of the other animals are starting to wear it. Yeah, I know exactly where that is now. If you go back to the rover camera, if you wouldn't mind quickly. There we are. The rover is looking up at the dam cam, obviously, and that's his home there, Ronald's home. But you can see that perhaps the camera is facing away from Ronald, way off in the distance. He managed to spot that Nyala. So nothing, as we turn around here, has come down to have a drink. Ooh! Look at this. Hello, Gracie, aged 9. You say you love the tent full of goodies. It's school time in the bush and you love to learn. Well, Gracie, we love to learn too, and we love to teach as well. And I hope that you are learning as much, or enjoying learning as much as we're enjoying bringing you this amazing stuff. Now, there's a blacksmith lapwing there, and he's a little bit alarmed by Ronald. So I'm going to stop Ronald there, and let's see if in the interim he doesn't come down to drink again. Marvellous. Well done, Viam. Excellent job. Let's leave Ronald there for now. Okay, good. Now, while I try and find something in here, I'm just trying to see, right, Jamie still has shadow, so I think we should head across onto the termite mound where the princess, if you like, of Djuma is reclining.
The princess of Djuma is enjoying a little bit of a royal nap this evening. And it's so peaceful sitting here just listening to the breeze blowing past. I almost want to go and join her. Except that I know how uncomfortable termite mounds are. It is a lovely, lazy Saturday afternoon feel. Nobody else wants to come and join us. And with the wind whistling past and away from the road, it almost feels as though we are completely alone out here. Except, of course, for our couple of thousand viewers that are naturally on board with us as we speak. Every now and again, Shadow lifts her head just to make sure, I think, that there's nothing out there coming to sneak up on her. And I think that's one of the big reasons why she's picked this termite mound. And in fact, all leopards. And Ramo, you were wondering, why do leopards like termite mounds so much? And I think it's the vantage point. It's the fact that they can climb up, they can get comfortable. They're not too high, so they're not blowing about in the breeze on a day like today. But at the same time, it gives them a nice, slightly higher viewpoint so that nothing can sneak up on them. And they can watch for potential prey as they sit up there. Like with that warthog, she spotted it from very far away. Bear in mind that when a leopard is lying on the ground, she will barely be able to see more than a couple of meters. But up there, from her vantage point, she'll be able to spot things far quicker. Also probably improves the amount that she can hear as well. I think that's one of the big reasons why. And it gives them a barrier. Let's say something came charging at her now, perhaps a lion or, I don't know, an elephant. She could go dashing off and use the termite mound as an obstacle between herself and the threat. Sorry guys, bear with me one moment. Standing by. Tax is just calling me. I think he wants to come and join us in this sighting. That's affirmative. She's still flat on a termite mound just to the south of Balanites Road. We should be visible from the road. Copy, that will do. We're going to be here for another 20 minutes or so, so I'll let you know when we do decide to leave. So just updating Tax on what our plans are. He'd like to come and join us, but he says he's still quite far away. He's not going to come rushing through. What we often try and do in a situation like that is if we know that there is another guide on their way, and if we were to leave the animal, they would be unattended. And what we often try and do is just stay with it for as long as possible until that person has a chance to get there. Otherwise, you run the risk of that animal disappearing, and then the poor guests don't have an opportunity as wonderful as ours to sit and observe such a natural, peaceful scene. I love the way she's almost hugging the termite mound with her left front paw on the one side and her right front paw on the other. And the perfect snooze spot. And I think one of the reasons she's been a little bit on edge, head up every now and again, is just because with this wind, the leaves, the dried leaves are making such a lot of noise. Gives us such a perfect opportunity to study the stunning imagery that the leopard creates from their incredible eyes. I think that's one of my favorite things about leopards is their eyes. The fact that you get such variation between them. They always look a different color in different light. And then of course the yellowish color of their fur and those beautiful dark spots. And perfectly pace paw pads. I know that Tingana was... Oh, and a girl. Sorry, I was about to say, I know that Tingana was somewhere around on Juma. He had his tracks this morning. She's looking up. There's that look again. Let's see that focus. Wonder if she spied something. His ears working like radar dishes to listen to sounds all around her. What have you seen, girl? I'm just looking behind me just to make sure that there's nothing sneaking up from somewhere else. Dave, can you see anything? I thought I heard something. I thought I heard rustling. And she's relaxed again, so whatever it is, it wasn't something she was going to try and hunt. Might have been some elephants moving off in the distance. I definitely heard more rustling than is just attributable to the wind. Wouldn't you love to know what she's thinking at this exact moment? Shadow has proved to be elusive over the last few months. I'm hoping that one positive of Safarichey slowly pushing into the west is that perhaps Shadow will spend a little bit more time with us here on Juma and on Arathusa. Sorry, girl. Sorry, Dave. I'm pretty sure I misheard that completely. While we wait for Shadow to decide what she's going to get up and do, from what I understood, we're going over to the tent now to have a look at an eye spine. But I think I've got that wrong. Let's go and find out what it actually is.
I see you, everybody. I'm looking at you. That was my eye. Now, that was brought about by us trying to find a mite to show you that, to kind of explain that sarcoptic mange. And very kindly, sort of a chief finder of things donated some eyelashes, because apparently in an eyelash there are mites. But this particular finder of things is very clean eyelash, well, cleanish eyelashes. There's a day's worth of dust on, but there are no mites on our, no flies on our tailor. Anyway, there is no mite there, but that is a hair follicle, if you can believe it, everyone. And that was pulled out, freshly pulled out of Taylor's eye just now. Very nice. Thank you for that, Taylor. Well done. Unfortunately, you're a bit too clean and there is no sarcoptic mange in your eyelashes. What we're going to do next is send her down to Michael Grover's house where there are 2 dogs. She doesn't know those dogs. She's going to try and remove some hair from them and see if we can find some mites on those. She may or may not return. We hope she does. Right, in the meantime, I've got a quiz for you. What animal do you think this comes from, everybody? It's an enormous bone, as you can see. And I'd love to know, quiz-wise, what animal you think it comes from. Hashtag Safari Live or questions at wildearth.tv. Tell us where you think this astounding bone comes from. I'm not going to tell you what part of the animal it came from. And I'll be very interested to know if anybody is able to guess it. I'm not going to tell you today if you don't get it right. That is not part of the bone, of course, Viam. That was where it was hanging from the wall.
Oh,
yes, no, it's not part of the bone, no. So it'll be quite interesting to know. And if you don't know... Right, Aaron in New Zealand, I thought you were already going to answer the question. Here, you say it would be interesting to look at baboon hair versus human hair. I think it would be very good to look at that. I, of course, can't show you my own hair on account of the fact that I don't have any anymore, but we will befall on some of the other people in the camp perhaps to give us some hair. Maybe I could take some of you. You've got plenty. You've got much too much hair. We'll get some of his, and hopefully we'll find a baboon. Now, come over here. Well, we're not going to pull it out of baboon. We'll hopefully find some baboon hair. Oh, hang on. Let's go to the dam cam quickly. The hippo is on his way back. There we go. Now I can see exactly where that chap is, and I'm going to try and get Ronald into position. Ronald, don't frighten the hippo. In fact, you know what? I'm going to wait for the hippo to come over the top, and then this is going to be amazing. Right? Okay, I can see where he is, the hippo. Just before he pops his head over the top, I'm going to move Ronald and just turn him so that he can face the hippopotamus. That should about do it now. Let's turn. Right. We don't want to drive into the dam. There you can see Ronald. Ronald is waiting for the hippo. We can't see the hippo yet with Ronald, but I can see from the dam cam. You can see, no, come back this way. Hang on a second. Maybe we go around the top there. Hang on, wait. Let me move Ronald. Come on, Ronald, you slowpoke. Move it. I have to tell Alex we need a slightly more powerful engine in Ronald. The hippo, you can see, is not reacting to Ronald at all. That's because he is unsighted, and Ronald cannot see the hippo just yet. But wait 1 second. Soon the hippopotamus is going to be within Ronald's sights. This is astounding. There, I can see him. I can see him. Cut to Ronald. Quickly. There. There is the hippo way in the distance. Let's move slowly down here. Of course, there's quite a lot of water that's leaking out. Alex, what's my range like on this thing? I don't want to run out of range. Oh, it's a big bump. Oh, Ronald, you biscuit. Go, boy. Come on. Here we go. This is so cool. The hippo has not reacted to Ronald at all yet. I think let's sneak... Oh no, Ronald doesn't like water. He's definitely not waterproof. Move away. Kirsten, any idea of the range that Ronald has? Before I run out of range and the hippo comes and stands on him. Connor's just giggling. He doesn't know what the range is. I'm gonna... Oh, you know what? Let's just keep going. I think let's just keep going. I don't think we need to stop at this stage. As soon as the hippo turns, I will stop. Because he will... Ronald makes a bit of a noise. He goes... as he goes. You can hear him slightly. I think the hippo is going for some clean water to drink. Doesn't want to go and sit in the water that he has been drinking. This is spectacularly fun. I cannot believe we're getting this close to the hippo. I don't suppose we want him to be stood on. Ronald is not. He may look fairly robust, but I assure you he isn't. Connor, you need to give me some indication of range, old fellow. No, he's still going. Here we're going to the dam camera view. There you can see how close Ronald has got to the hippo. Oh, this is too fantastic. Okay, now, I'm feeling quite nervous for Ronald, inanimate as he might be. Let's get a little bit closer. The hippo has not turned around yet. And back to the dam cam view, have a look at that. There is Ronald making his way to And you must hear the noise coming out of the final control, everybody. They cannot believe what's going on here. I think we drive right under this hippopotamus. This is so cool. Look how close he is. Ronald is very close to the hippo. I can feel his heartbeat slamming. I don't think we're going to go any closer than that, everybody. There, he's turning. Now I'm going to stop. Now let's see what happens. Full frame hippopotamus Ronald. Well, not quite full frame, really, an eighth of a frame, but that's still pretty close with the GoPro camera. Can we have one more look at the dam cam if we've still got Ronald in view? There we are. You can see it's getting dark, that's why it's getting a bit grainy. I don't think Ronald is more than 3 meters from this, no, maybe 5 meters from this hippopotamus, which is having a drink. He's not going to drink forever, which means we should, with any luck, he should swing to his right-hand side and we'll get an astounding view of Ronald. How amazing is this? I think it's going to be worth waiting for just a little while in this position to see what he does. Let's go back to the dam camera and we'll just have a look and see. And you can see Ronald's brake lights are on there. He's obviously very nervous. If I suspect if he could talk, he'd say, "Get me out of here, pal," immediately. Now this is why Ronald is such a magnificent addition to this drive. You can see him there, and if you go... And Donna, you want to know if Ronald has got life insurance? Ronald is just creeping forward. He doesn't have life insurance. He has Alex and Connor. I got to tell you though, I'm going to need life insurance if Alex or Connor get hold of me once this hippopotamus stands on Ronald. They're going to be very cross with me indeed. But you know, that's just the way it goes. They make the tech, I break the tech. That's how it works, isn't it, Viam? Yes, he's nodding vigorously. He agrees completely. This is the thirstiest hippopotamus in the world. Shall we sneak it a little bit closer? Moving a little closer now. This hippopotamus has not reacted at all. All right, just past that done, then we're going to stop. All right, we'll stop. Now I'm getting messages from the final control saying, let's not push it. Well, okay, we won't. Let's just watch him from there. You can see there Ronald basically almost underneath the hippopotamus. Hello, Doodle. You say, what is it with me and hippos? Well, Doodle, what it is, of course, I don't know if you were hapless enough to have seen me try and draw a hippopotamus, but you see, the closer we get to them, the greater the chance is that the next time I have to draw a rendition of one of these animals, I will be able to do so in a much more competent fashion. Right, let's quickly, we're going to watch the hippo. Let's go back to Jamie and the leopards and see what's leopard, and let's see what's happening with Shadow.
Our lovely leopard is up and on the move, and I'm desperately, trying to stick with her. You okay there, Dave? You still on the back? Well done. So she's been scent marking as she goes along, stopping at the marula trees and the other large trees. Slowly making her way towards the western boundary of Djuma and towards Arathusa. Trying to see where's going to be an easy path for us to keep up with her. just for the last few moments of the sunset safari. She's slowly disappearing into the distance. Okay. All right, off we go. Okay, well, as Shadow disappears off into the distance, we've reached the end of our portion of the sunset safari. So from myself and Dave and Shadow, a big goodbye and thank you to you all. We'll see you on the sunrise safari. Bye-bye, everybody.
Look, 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 he's just turning around. Hello. Oh dear, here we go. This is unbelievable. Ronald, have courage, my friend. Yes, I didn't move him, everybody. He's just smelt it, obviously. Now he's a little bit nervous. This is okay. We're not in any way stopping him from going back to his water where he'll feel safe. But he's probably going to go off and graze now anyway. Now, what is amazing to me is that he didn't react to the sound of it coming. And he didn't look around at all, which I think is astounding. Then he turned around, he got to within sort of a meter of it, maybe smelt it. Yeah, it's possible that it smells of human. He's turned around now. He's going off now. So I think maybe that's a lesson to us. Maybe we need to, once we've handled it, perhaps we need to give it a bit of covering of buffalo dung, perhaps. You can see Ronald is stopped, and the hippo thinking about looking at him again, and also thinking possibly about looking or eating that elephant dung. Hippo will do quite a lot of elephant dung eating. I think we'll turn Ronald around. There we are. And we'll drive him back up to the top where he can be collected so that the collectors don't destroy him. Oh, this is wonderful. I'm just going to leave Ronald over there for now. Ellen and Renee, you say, is this a buffalo hip? I'm not going to tell you what it is until we get the right answer. It's not a buffalo hip or leg bone. Look at it carefully again. Kitty, kitty, bang, bang. A bit closer, you say a giraffe spine bone, but no, it isn't. You're going to have to think out of the box, people. Mike or Valerie, an elephant vertebra? Nope, it isn't. I'll tell you that it is a vertebra. It is a vertebra, but it is not an elephant vertebra. I'm not going to tell you what it is. We're going to maintain this over a few days. You've got to think out of the box here. Okay, so I'll tell you it's a vertebra. That's all I'm going to tell you. It's amazing, isn't it? Absolutely enormous. It's about the size of my trunk. Okay, we're going to pack it in now, everybody. We need to zip up the tent, get out of the wind and make our way. We'll go and collect Ronald, basically. So while we do that, thank you very much for joining us in the tent this afternoon. I've had a wonderful time. Big thanks to Taylor McCurdy and to VM. We'll see you tomorrow, probably, well, not in the morning in the tent, but in the afternoon. Until then, stay safe and happy. Bye-bye.
Well, it's been interesting, and sometimes these cold, wintry, weathery afternoons can prove a bit difficult to find the animals. But fortunately for us, the animals played along this evening, and isn't it great having that rover down at the tent? And of course, James messing about with a microscope, and Jamie finding Shadow, and we were lucky enough to find a single Styx lioness. And really nice to catch up with her. Pity we didn't get to see the cubs, but you never know. Tomorrow's another day, and it'll be very exciting to get out on the sunrise safari. Now, unfortunately, as I said, just to give you a quick update, in Kahumas, 1 Birmingham, Buffalo Kill, Buffalo's Hook. Karula, both cubs, I think it was an Impala Kill, Hoffman's. Shadow with Jamie, and hopefully she'll be around in the morning. Tingana's tracks were about, but I think he's gone into the north. No sign of any leopards on Cheetah Plains. Styx, we're heading southwest from where we left that female, so hopefully they do a big circle and come back east. What other cat reports can I think of? I think that's about it, what we know that's going on. So that's what I love about the sunrise safaris, is it's all new again. Anything could be out. There could be wild dogs, there could be hyenas, and of course that buffalo carcass at Red Dam is definitely going to be worth checking out. Hopefully it draws in some hyenas or a male lion or two. We never know. That's the joy of being out here in the African bush. And no, not much of a sunset this evening, but we are coming towards the end of the sunset safari, and it's been fantastic being with you. So from the Killer Bees and the Windy Thumb, we'll see you in the morning.